How to Stop Overthinking, written and published by Echoes of Empowerment. Introduction. Picture this. You're lying awake at night, your mind racing with endless thoughts. What if this happens? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? You replay every conversation, every decision, over and over again, unable to switch off. Sound familiar? Overthinking is like a mental prison, trapping you in a never-ending cycle of doubt, anxiety, and indecision. It steals your peace, clouds your judgment, and makes every challenge feel like an insurmountable obstacle. But what if I told you that you have the power to break free from this trap? What if there was a way to silence the chaos in your mind, regain control over your thoughts, and take decisive, clear action? Imagine a life where your thoughts no longer control you, where you could face challenges with calm confidence, and where peace isn't just a fleeting moment, but your daily reality. In this book, How to Stop Overthinking, we'll dive into life-changing strategies that will help you master your mind and regain the mental clarity you deserve. Whether you're overwhelmed by the smallest decisions or stuck in an endless loop of what-ifs, the tools in this book will empower you to finally break free. Chapter 1. The Hidden Cost of Overthinking, Uncovering the Silent Saboteur. Overthinking may seem harmless at first, but it has a far greater impact than most people realize. It doesn't just drain your energy, it eats away at your confidence, clouds your decision-making ability, and steals your mental peace. The worst part? Most of us don't recognize how much overthinking is costing us until it's already taken a toll on our lives. When we overthink, we're essentially replaying the same thoughts over and over again. We revisit past conversations, worrying about what was said or how we could have said something differently. Or we constantly imagine future scenarios, sometimes the worst ones, like how something might go wrong or how we might fail. This constant mental activity can feel like being stuck on a hamster wheel. Your thoughts keep circling, but you're getting nowhere. The cost of overthinking is high. It leads to increased stress and anxiety because your mind is constantly working overtime. It also feeds self-doubt, making you question yourself and your decisions. Over time, it erodes your self-esteem, and even simple choices become overwhelming. Things that should be easy, like making a decision or taking action, can start to feel impossible. As overthinking takes hold, it begins to influence how you see the world and your ability to handle challenges. You may become paralyzed by indecision, unable to move forward or make progress. You begin to second-guess everything, from personal choices to professional decisions. This constant hesitation and self-questioning leave you feeling stuck, frustrated, and defeated. The key to breaking free from overthinking is to recognize these hidden costs. You have to become aware of how often overthinking is taking up mental space in your life and how much it's affecting your well-being. By realizing the negative impact it has, you can make a choice. Do you want to continue letting overthinking control your mind, or are you ready to take back your peace and mental clarity? The moment you understand how overthinking affects your life, you unlock the power to stop it. Awareness gives you the ability to choose different thoughts, to let go of those mental loops, and to create space for clarity. It's not about eliminating every thought, but about taking back control and deciding which thoughts deserve your attention. Every time you choose to stop overthinking, you build new habits that support your mental peace and well-being. This version adds more depth and practical insights into how overthinking can affect different aspects of life, while also giving the audience a sense of empowerment to take action. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments. Chapter 2. Breaking the Thought Loop. How awareness is your superpower. One of the most powerful tools you have to stop overthinking is simply becoming aware of when it's happening. Awareness is like a light that shines on the dark corners of your mind, revealing where the mental traps lie. Once you become conscious of the overthinking cycle, you can take intentional steps to interrupt it before it takes over. Overthinking often starts with a single thought. You might worry about a small mistake, a decision you made, or an upcoming event. And before you know it, your mind is spiraling. That one thought turns into a series of imagined worst-case scenarios. You may start playing out conversations in your head, reliving past situations, or picturing things going terribly wrong. What was once a simple concern becomes a full-blown mental crisis, all within a matter of minutes. The key to breaking this cycle is catching it early. The moment you notice that your mind is beginning to race or repeat the same anxious thoughts, take a mental step back. This pause is where the magic happens. Instead of allowing your thoughts to continue running wild, take a deep breath and say to yourself, "I'm overthinking right now, and I can stop this." This is your first act of control, acknowledging that the spiral is happening and choosing to take a different path. But awareness alone isn't enough. You need to take action. Once you're aware of the loop, shift your attention to something else. Engage in an activity that requires focus, like reading, solving a puzzle, or even getting active with some exercise. The more you practice redirecting your attention, the easier it becomes to break the cycle of overthinking. Another helpful technique is keeping a thought journal. When you catch yourself overthinking, write down what's happening. What thought started the cycle? What are you imagining will happen in the future? By externalizing the thoughts on paper, you create some distance between you and the overthinking, which can help you gain perspective. It's also important to recognize the physical signals that accompany overthinking. Many people don't realize that their body gives off cues: tightness in the chest, shallow breathing, or restlessness. Learning to tune into these signals can help you catch yourself earlier and break the cycle before it takes hold. The more in tune you are with both your mind and body, the quicker you can act to stop overthinking in its tracks. Breaking the thought loop isn't about eliminating your worries entirely. It's about regaining control over how much space those worries occupy in your mind. By practicing awareness and redirecting your focus, you empower yourself to choose your thoughts and ultimately stop overthinking before it derails your mental peace. This version deepens the focus on awareness as a tool to break overthinking and provides more specific, actionable steps your audience can take to begin implementing this in their own lives. Let me know if you want to further refine any part of it. Chapter 3. Mastering your thoughts. Reframe, redirect, and regain control. Overthinking often feeds on negative thought patterns. These patterns become so ingrained that we begin to assume the worst without realizing it. For example, if you're facing a challenging situation, your first thought might be, "I'm going to fail," or "This will never work out." Over time, these thoughts start to shape your reality, limiting your potential and keeping you stuck in a cycle of fear and uncertainty. The good news? You can break this cycle by learning how to reframe and redirect your thoughts. Reframing is one of the most powerful tools to regain control of your mind. It involves changing the way you look at a situation, turning a negative or fearful thought into a more positive or constructive one. Instead of catastrophizing, you begin to focus on solutions and possibilities. Take, for example, a situation where you've made a mistake at work. An overthinking response might be, "I've messed everything up. I'll get fired and disappoint everyone." This thought feeds into anxiety and a lack of confidence. Reframing this could look like, "I made a mistake, but it's an opportunity to learn and grow. I can fix this and do better next time." This shift in perspective changes the energy you bring to the situation, empowering you to take action rather than retreating into fear. One of the most important elements of reframing is recognizing the difference between facts and interpretations. The book highlights how overthinking often distorts our perception. For example, you might think, "Everyone is judging me right now," but in reality, people are likely focused on their own lives. Reframing this thought might sound like, "It's possible that others are focused on themselves, just like I am. I don't need to assume what they think of me." By separating facts from assumptions, you start to release the power of negative thoughts and replace them with more accurate, less stressful interpretations. Redirecting your thoughts is another powerful technique. When you catch yourself in the midst of overthinking, you don't have to stay stuck. The key is to shift your attention. Redirecting can be as simple as engaging in a new activity that demands focus, like reading a book, going for a walk, or solving a problem. Sometimes, doing something physical, like stretching or taking a few deep breaths, can help to break the mental cycle. This redirection creates a mental pause, which allows your mind to reset and prevents overthinking from spiraling out of control. One way to make this redirection even more effective is to ask yourself a powerful question when you catch yourself overthinking. What is the next step I can take to move forward? This question instantly shifts your mind from a place of worry to a place of action. It's no longer about what might happen, but what you can do right now to make progress. Even if it's a small step, taking action provides clarity and can significantly reduce anxiety. Another technique you can use is visualization. When you feel yourself spiraling, take a moment to close your eyes and visualize a positive outcome. Picture yourself succeeding, solving the problem, or handling the situation with ease. Visualization helps break the cycle of negative thinking by reprogramming your mind to expect success instead of failure. Mastering your thoughts isn't about controlling every single thought that enters your mind. It's about becoming more aware of how your thoughts influence your emotions and actions. Reframing and redirecting allow you to regain control over your mental state, giving you the power to choose what you focus on. When you practice these techniques consistently, you train your brain to stop overthinking and start taking confident, empowered actions. This expanded version emphasizes the importance of reframing and redirecting thoughts, offering clear examples and actionable strategies to break free from negative thought patterns. Let me know if you need further refinements or adjustments. Chapter 4. The Power of Mindfulness. Grounding yourself in the present. Overthinking often pulls us away from the present moment. Our minds drift into the past or the future, rehashing old conversations or worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. This disconnection from the present moment is one of the key reasons overthinking takes hold in the first place. The more we get lost in our thoughts, the more detached we become from reality, which leads to stress, anxiety, and confusion. The book highlights mindfulness as one of the most effective practices to combat overthinking. Mindfulness isn't about silencing your mind or forcing yourself to stop thinking. It's about observing your thoughts without judgment and bringing your focus back to the present. This practice helps you detach from the mental chatter and instead focus on what's happening around you right now. One simple way to practice mindfulness is through breathing exercises. When you find yourself overthinking, take a few deep, deliberate breaths. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, hold for a moment, and then exhale through your mouth for a count of 4. Repeat this process for a few minutes. Focusing on your breath draws your attention away from your thoughts and anchors you in the present moment. Mindfulness also involves paying attention to your body. Often, when we're trapped in overthinking, we don't notice how our body responds. Tension builds in our shoulders, our chest tightens, and our breath becomes shallow. By checking in with your body, you can bring awareness to these physical signs and release the tension before it escalates. Try a quick body scan. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and slowly scan through each part of your body, noticing any areas of tightness or discomfort. This simple exercise helps you ground yourself in the here and now, preventing your mind from spiraling further. Another mindfulness practice is sensory grounding. This involves engaging your five senses to bring you back to the present moment. For example, if you're in a stressful situation and you start to overthink, try to focus on something you can see, perhaps the colors around you or the textures of objects in the room. Notice the sound of your breath, the warmth of the air, or the feeling of your feet on the ground. This type of sensory awareness immediately shifts your focus from your racing thoughts to your surroundings, which can help you break free from the overthinking cycle. The book emphasizes the importance of acceptance in mindfulness. When you're overthinking, you might feel frustrated with yourself for letting your mind wander, but instead of judging yourself for overthinking, practice accepting the thoughts as they come. Acknowledge them without attaching judgment or emotion. This is a crucial aspect of mindfulness, recognizing that thoughts are just thoughts, not facts. They don't define you, and you don't need to act on them. The more you practice acceptance, the less power your thoughts will have over you. Mindfulness doesn't just stop at breathing exercises or body scans. It's about cultivating a mindset of presence and non-attachment to your thoughts. When you practice mindfulness, you create a space between yourself and your thoughts, where you can simply observe them without being swept away by them. This space gives you the freedom to choose which thoughts to engage with and which to let go of, allowing you to regain control over your mental state. Over time, mindfulness helps you become more aware of your habitual thought patterns. You'll begin to notice when your mind starts to overthink, and with practice, you'll be able to gently guide your focus back to the present moment before it spirals into a full-blown overthinking session. The beauty of mindfulness is that it can be practiced anywhere, at any time. You don't need special tools or equipment, just your awareness and your breath. Whether you're at work, in a stressful meeting, or at home, mindfulness gives you the ability to stay present, calm, and focused, no matter what thoughts are trying to pull you away. This version highlights the key aspects of mindfulness, such as breathing exercises, sensory grounding, and acceptance, and connects them directly to the goal of stopping overthinking. The strategies are broken down into easy-to-follow steps, with practical examples to help your audience implement them in their everyday lives. Let me know if you'd like to add or adjust anything. Chapter 5. Taking Small, Powerful Steps. How Action Conquers Anxiety. When you're caught in the grip of overthinking, one of the most paralyzing effects is your inability to take action. The more you think about something, the harder it feels to actually do it. Overthinking leads to procrastination, indecision, and a lack of progress. Every small task feels overwhelming, and the fear of failure looms large. The more you hesitate, the more you spiral, making it seem as though you'll never be able to move forward. This is where action becomes your secret weapon. The book stresses that when you're overwhelmed by your thoughts, the best way to break the cycle is to focus on taking action, even if it's just a tiny step. This approach shifts the focus from fear and uncertainty to doing something, anything, that propels you forward. Action doesn't require perfection, it requires movement. One of the first things to understand about overthinking is that it thrives when you stay stuck in your head. Your mind circles around the same worries, creating endless possibilities and what-ifs. But none of these thoughts bring you any closer to solving the problem. Action, on the other hand, forces you to step out of your mind and into the real world. By taking action, you break the cycle of rumination and replace it with progress. The book recommends starting with small, manageable steps instead of trying to tackle everything at once. Overthinking often occurs when we feel like we have to do everything perfectly or solve the entire problem immediately. This pressure is overwhelming and it keeps us frozen in place. However, when you break down a task or decision into small, achievable actions, the entire process becomes less intimidating. Let's say you're feeling anxious about a work project that seems too large to handle. Instead of thinking about the entire project at once, perhaps imagining all the ways it could go wrong, start by taking one small action. This could be as simple as writing down the first step you need to take or making a list of tasks. The moment you focus on completing the first step, you stop overthinking and replace that mental energy with tangible progress. Once that small action is completed, it builds momentum, making the next step feel more achievable. Another key concept the book emphasizes is the importance of momentum. Once you take the first step, the next step becomes easier, and then the next and the next. This process of building momentum makes even the biggest tasks seem less daunting. It's like pushing a boulder uphill. At first, it takes effort, but once you get it moving, it's much easier to keep it going. Each small action you take creates forward movement and gives you the confidence to tackle bigger challenges. Sometimes the hardest part is simply getting started. When we overthink, we put up mental barriers that prevent us from acting. This is why the book suggests using the 5-minute rule. Commit to working on something for just 5 minutes. This rule is powerful because it removes the pressure of completing a whole task. It focuses on the small action of just starting. Often, once you get going, you'll find that you're able to continue much longer than 5 minutes, and you'll be surprised at how quickly progress happens once you begin. Another way to approach action is by focusing on decisions instead of outcomes. Overthinkers often fear making the wrong decision, which causes them to second-guess themselves. However, focusing on making a decision, no matter how small, helps break the cycle of indecision and clears the mental fog. The book advises that instead of stressing over whether your choice is the perfect one, simply focus on making a decision that feels good in the moment. Action often leads to clarity, and once you've made a choice, you can adjust and adapt along the way. The key is to keep moving forward. In addition to small steps, self-compassion plays an essential role in taking action. It's easy to criticize yourself for not being perfect or for feeling anxious, but self-compassion allows you to move past your fears. Understand that you don't need to do everything perfectly, you just need to do something. Taking action is not about achieving flawless results. It's about making progress, no matter how small. When you treat yourself with kindness and allow room for mistakes, you remove the pressure that often holds you back from acting in the first place. This approach also applies to making decisions. Overthinking often makes us fear the potential consequences of a decision. What if you choose the wrong path? What if things don't turn out as expected? The truth is, no decision is ever guaranteed to be perfect. But by making small decisions and taking action based on them, you gain more confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Even if things don't go as planned, you learn from those experiences and become better equipped to handle future challenges. Finally, accountability can be a powerful motivator to take action. Share your goals and small steps with someone you trust, whether a friend, colleague, or mentor. Having someone to check in with helps you stay committed to your progress. When you feel accountable to someone else, it's easier to keep moving forward, even when doubts creep in. Taking small, powerful steps isn't just about tackling tasks. It's about changing the way you relate to your thoughts and emotions. When you move from overthinking to action, you reclaim your power. Action interrupts the cycle of doubt and anxiety, allowing you to focus on the process rather than the outcome. With each small step, you gain more confidence and build the momentum needed to break free from overthinking and embrace clarity and peace. This expanded version provides more depth and actionable strategies to help your audience understand how taking small, consistent steps can combat overthinking and lead to tangible progress. Let me know if you need more adjustments or additional information. Chapter 6. Cultivating Self-Compassion. Stop beating yourself up. Overthinking is often accompanied by self-criticism. We become so absorbed in our thoughts that we start blaming ourselves for everything, the things we've said, the choices we've made, and even the thoughts we're having. This constant self-judgment only feeds into the cycle of overthinking, creating more stress, guilt, and anxiety. It's a harsh and unrelenting inner dialogue that holds us back from moving forward and finding peace. The book highlights that one of the most powerful ways to stop overthinking is by practicing self-compassion. Instead of beating yourself up for having anxious thoughts or worrying about the future, self-compassion involves treating yourself with kindness and understanding. It's about recognizing that everyone makes mistakes, everyone feels uncertain at times, and that it's okay to not have everything figured out. Self-compassion allows you to break free from the harsh inner critic and replace it with a voice of encouragement and support. When you're overthinking, it's easy to fall into the trap of shoulding yourself, telling yourself things like, "I should be doing better," "I shouldn't be feeling this way," or "I should have figured this out by now." These thoughts are not only unrealistic, but they also reinforce feelings of inadequacy and failure. The book emphasizes that the more you engage in should statements, the deeper you dig yourself into a hole of self-criticism. Instead of shoulding yourself, practice accepting where you are right now without judgment. Start by recognizing that it's okay to feel the way you do. Overthinking is often a sign of being overwhelmed or uncertain, but that doesn't make you weak or incapable. It simply makes you human. When you practice self-compassion, you give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling without trying to force yourself to feel differently. This act of self-acceptance opens the door for healing and growth. A key part of self-compassion is shifting from a mindset of self-criticism to one of self-kindness. Instead of tearing yourself down when you make a mistake or when you feel overwhelmed, treat yourself as you would treat a close friend. Would you criticize a friend for feeling anxious or making a mistake? Most likely not. You'd offer words of comfort and encouragement, reminding them that it's okay to stumble and that they're doing their best. The book suggests using this same compassionate voice with yourself. When you make a mistake or feel uncertain, talk to yourself with the same kindness and empathy that you would offer to someone you love. One way to practice self-compassion is by writing a letter to yourself as though you were a friend. When you're caught in the cycle of overthinking and self-criticism, take a moment to sit down and write a letter to yourself. Acknowledge your feelings without judgment and offer words of encouragement. Remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes, that you're doing the best you can, and that you deserve the same love and compassion you would offer to someone else. This exercise helps shift your perspective and builds a deeper connection with yourself, making it easier to let go of self-criticism. Another important element of self-compassion is practicing forgiveness. Overthinkers often hold on to past mistakes and regret. We replay our errors over and over again, thinking that by doing so, we can somehow fix them or make them right. But this only keeps us stuck in the past, preventing us from moving forward. Forgiving yourself means letting go of the past and releasing the weight of guilt. It's about acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and then allowing yourself the freedom to move on. The book also introduces the concept of mindful self-compassion, which involves incorporating mindfulness into your self-compassion practice. Mindfulness allows you to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment, while self-compassion adds a layer of kindness and care. When you feel yourself spiraling into self-criticism or overthinking, practice bringing awareness to your thoughts without attaching negativity or blame. Simply observe what's happening in your mind and then offer yourself a gentle reminder. It's okay to feel this way. I'm allowed to be human. By practicing this form of mindfulness, you create a buffer between you and your overthinking, allowing you to respond to your thoughts with understanding rather than frustration. In addition, the book suggests using affirmations to reinforce your self-compassion practice. Positive affirmations help rewire your brain to focus on your strengths, your worth, and your ability to cope with challenges. When you're caught in the cycle of overthinking, affirmations can serve as a gentle reminder to be kind to yourself. Try repeating statements like, "I am doing my best and that's enough." "I am worthy of love and understanding," or "I am learning and growing every day." Over time, these affirmations can help shift your internal dialogue from one of criticism to one of acceptance and encouragement. Self-compassion is also about setting boundaries with yourself. It's about recognizing when you've been overly harsh or critical and gently redirecting your thoughts in a more positive direction. The book advises that you become mindful of your inner dialogue and make a conscious effort to replace negative self-talk with self-compassionate thoughts. Setting these mental boundaries creates space for healing and growth, allowing you to move away from overthinking and toward a healthier mindset. It's important to remember that practicing self-compassion is not about excusing poor behavior or avoiding growth. It's about treating yourself with kindness while acknowledging your flaws and imperfections. It's about recognizing that making mistakes is part of the human experience and that you are deserving of love and care, regardless of your shortcomings. The more you practice self-compassion, the easier it becomes to break free from the grip of overthinking. When you stop beating yourself up for your thoughts and feelings, you create space for peace and clarity. With self-compassion, you can face challenges head-on without the paralyzing fear or self-doubt that often comes with overthinking. This expanded chapter dives deeper into the practice of self-compassion and offers practical tools like writing a letter to yourself, practicing forgiveness, and using affirmations to help break the cycle of self-criticism and overthinking. Let me know if you'd like to refine any part of it. Chapter 7. Creating Space for Stillness. How Quietness Leads to Clarity. In a world filled with constant distractions, noise and pressure, finding stillness might feel like an impossible task. Our phones constantly buzz, social media demands our attention, and the never-ending stream of thoughts and worries fills our minds. This overwhelming environment of noise and busyness makes it nearly impossible to think clearly, let alone stop overthinking. Yet stillness is one of the most powerful antidotes to overthinking. The book emphasizes that by creating space for stillness, you give your mind the opportunity to reset, to process thoughts without the pressure of constant stimulation. When we are still, we are able to quiet the chaos in our minds and hear our inner voice more clearly. This moment of peace allows us to gain clarity, restore balance, and connect with our deeper sense of purpose and peace. Overthinking thrives on mental clutter. The more thoughts you try to juggle, the more fragmented your attention becomes. Your mind races from one thought to the next, never fully finishing or resolving any of them. Without a quiet space to pause and reflect, your mental energy is scattered, and overthinking only gets worse. But when you create a moment of stillness, even if just for a few minutes, you give your brain the break it needs to process information without being overwhelmed by endless input. One of the simplest ways to create stillness is through meditation. The book highlights meditation as a highly effective practice for quieting the mind and creating a sense of calm. Meditation doesn't require you to stop thinking entirely. It simply asks you to become an observer of your thoughts. You sit in a quiet space, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. As thoughts arise, you acknowledge them without judgment, then let them go. Meditation teaches you to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. By practicing meditation regularly, you can train your mind to return to a state of stillness, even in the midst of chaos. Another helpful practice is mindful walking. This might sound simple, but walking with intention can create profound moments of stillness. As you walk, focus your attention on your surroundings, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sounds of nature, or the rhythm of your breath. Every step you take brings you further into the present moment, and the act of focusing solely on the physical experience of walking can help quiet the mental noise. Mindful walking allows you to step away from the overload of thoughts and focus on your body's movement and your immediate environment. It's a simple yet powerful practice for creating stillness. Journaling is another excellent way to create mental space. When your mind is cluttered with overthinking, writing down your thoughts can help clear the mental fog. The book recommends setting aside time each day to journal, particularly when you feel overwhelmed or trapped in your thoughts. By putting your thoughts on paper, you externalize them, which allows you to examine them from a more detached perspective. Writing helps you process emotions, work through problems, and clear mental space, leaving you with more room for clarity and insight. Even a few minutes of journaling each day can create a sense of stillness and peace. Stillness isn't only about sitting quietly, it's also about creating boundaries in your life to protect your mental space. In our hyper-connected world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the constant demands of others, whether through social media, work, or relationships. The book suggests setting aside intentional time for quiet and disconnecting from the digital world. This could be as simple as turning off your phone for an hour each day, or setting aside a quiet time in the evening where you don't engage with any outside distractions. By creating these boundaries, you give your mind the space it needs to rest and rejuvenate without the constant input of external noise. Another crucial element of stillness is learning to say no. We often take on more than we can handle, overloading ourselves with tasks, commitments, and social obligations. This constant busyness can leave us feeling mentally exhausted and disconnected from ourselves. The book encourages you to recognize the importance of setting limits and prioritizing what truly matters. By saying no to unnecessary commitments, you preserve your mental energy and create more space for stillness. This, in turn, allows you to focus on what's important and align your actions with your values. One of the most transformative aspects of stillness is that it helps you reconnect with your intuition. Overthinking often clouds your judgment and leads to second-guessing, but stillness provides the mental clarity needed to tap into your inner wisdom. When you create space to reflect quietly, you can better hear your intuition, which often guides you toward the right path. By practicing stillness, you tune in to the deep sense of knowing that resides within you, rather than relying on external noise or anxieties. Stillness is not about forcing yourself into silence or striving for perfection. It's about allowing your mind and body the opportunity to rest and reset. The book emphasizes that it's okay to take breaks, to step away from the constant grind, and to give yourself permission to be still. By embracing moments of stillness, you create the conditions necessary for mental clarity, emotional peace, and a deeper connection with yourself. The beauty of stillness is that it doesn't require anything complicated or time-consuming. You don't need to retreat to a remote cabin or dedicate hours of your day to meditation. The stillness you need can be found in the quiet moments of everyday life, whether you're taking a break from work, enjoying a cup of tea, or simply sitting in silence for a few minutes each day. The key is to make stillness a regular practice and recognize its power to calm your mind and break the cycle of overthinking. When you make stillness a priority, you begin to experience the world in a different way. You become more aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs. You gain greater clarity about what matters most and how to move forward in life with purpose and direction. And most importantly, you stop the mental noise from hijacking your peace and well-being. This extended chapter provides a variety of actionable practices to help create stillness in your life, emphasizing its transformative power for gaining mental clarity and breaking the cycle of overthinking. Let me know if you'd like further refinements or adjustments. Chapter 8. Embracing Imperfection. How to let go of the fear of making mistakes. Overthinking often feeds on the fear of making mistakes. We become so afraid of failing or doing something wrong that we hesitate to take action, paralyze ourselves with doubt, or endlessly replay scenarios in our minds. This fear is rooted in the idea that perfection is the standard by which we should measure ourselves. The book emphasizes that perfectionism is one of the biggest obstacles to overcoming overthinking. It prevents us from moving forward, keeps us stuck in the cycle of anxiety, and blocks us from embracing the growth that comes with imperfection. The first step to letting go of this fear is realizing that perfection is an illusion. No one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, and those mistakes are not signs of failure. They are opportunities for learning and growth. When you shift your perspective and begin to see mistakes as valuable lessons rather than as sources of shame, the power of overthinking starts to diminish. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, you begin to focus on what you can learn from each experience, knowing that imperfection is part of being human. The book stresses the importance of embracing self-compassion when it comes to imperfection. When we make mistakes, our first instinct is often to criticize ourselves, to blame ourselves for not doing better. But self-compassion involves understanding that mistakes are a natural part of the learning process and that they do not define us. When you treat yourself with kindness and understanding, even in moments of failure, you create space for growth and improvement. Self-compassion helps release the harsh judgment that often accompanies overthinking, allowing you to move forward with confidence instead of fear. A key part of letting go of the fear of making mistakes is recognizing that perfectionism is often tied to a desire for external validation. Many people overthink because they want to be seen as capable, competent, or successful in the eyes of others. The pressure to live up to unrealistic standards of perfection can be overwhelming, leading to anxiety and indecision. The book encourages you to shift the focus from seeking approval from others to seeking approval from yourself. Ask yourself, what truly matters to me? When you align your actions with your values, rather than the expectations of others, you begin to realize that imperfection is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Another strategy for embracing imperfection is to practice letting go of control. Overthinkers often try to control every possible outcome, imagining how things will unfold and trying to predict the future. This need for control stems from the fear of making mistakes or not getting things right. However, control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, and we can't control everything. The book emphasizes that the more we try to control the future, the more we hold ourselves back from taking action. By letting go of the need for certainty and allowing yourself to take risks, you free yourself from the paralysis of perfectionism. This doesn't mean being reckless. It means taking calculated risks, making decisions, and learning from whatever happens next. Reframing failure is another key concept the book explores. When you make a mistake, or something doesn't go as planned, overthinkers tend to internalize this as a personal failure. However, reframing failure means viewing mistakes as stepping stones to success. When something doesn't go right, rather than asking, "What did I do wrong?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Failure is not the end of the road. It's a detour, a redirection toward something better. Every mistake offers a lesson, and each lesson gets you one step closer to growth and mastery. Reframing failure this way takes the sting out of mistakes and allows you to embrace them with curiosity, not fear. The book also recommends setting realistic expectations for yourself. Overthinkers often set impossibly high standards, believing that if they're not perfect, they're not good enough. This kind of thinking sets you up for frustration and disappointment, as perfection is an unattainable goal. Instead of striving for perfection, aim for progress. Focus on improving little by little and acknowledge your achievements, no matter how small. Realize that every step forward is a victory. When you stop expecting perfection, you give yourself permission to make mistakes and learn from them, knowing that they're part of the journey. Another key practice is to adopt a growth mindset. The book highlights that those with a growth mindset believe that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities to grow, not as threats to their sense of self-worth. This mindset helps reduce the fear of making mistakes, because you understand that mistakes are an essential part of the learning process. When you shift from a fixed mindset, where you believe your abilities are set in stone, to a growth mindset, where you see every experience as an opportunity to learn, you begin to embrace imperfection and let go of the fear of failure. The book also suggests surrounding yourself with supportive people who encourage you to embrace imperfection. Having a strong support system is crucial in letting go of the fear of making mistakes. When you're surrounded by people who value progress over perfection, who embrace learning over judging, you start to see the value in imperfection. The fear of judgment diminishes, and you feel empowered to take risks and make mistakes without the pressure of needing to be perfect. Surrounding yourself with others who embrace growth and imperfection helps reinforce your own journey. Celebrate the journey, not just the destination. Overthinkers often get so caught up in the need to achieve the perfect result that they forget to enjoy the process. The book emphasizes that life is about the experiences we have, the lessons we learn, and the people we meet along the way. Celebrate each step you take, no matter how small, and honor the progress you make. Life isn't about being perfect. It's about growing, evolving, and embracing who you are, flaws and all. When you focus on the journey rather than the destination, you let go of the need for perfection and open yourself to the beauty of imperfection. This expanded chapter provides deep insight into how perfectionism and the fear of making mistakes contribute to overthinking and offers actionable strategies to embrace imperfection, build self-compassion, and adopt a growth mindset. It offers a comprehensive approach to freeing yourself from the fear of failure and moving forward with confidence. Let me know if you'd like any further revisions or additional details. Chapter 8. Embracing Imperfection: How to Let Go of the Fear of Making Mistakes. Overthinking often thrives in the space of perfectionism. We become consumed by the fear of making mistakes, so much so that we hesitate to take action at all. The fear of failure can keep us stuck, replaying every scenario in our minds, worrying about what could go wrong. We become obsessed with getting everything just right, yet perfection is often an unattainable goal. The book stresses that perfectionism is one of the greatest obstacles to overcoming overthinking, and that the path to mental clarity begins with embracing imperfection. The first step to letting go of the fear of making mistakes is recognizing that perfection is a myth. No one can be perfect. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life and growth, and they're not something to be ashamed of. They are opportunities for learning, for growth, and for improving our approach to challenges. When we start seeing mistakes not as failures, but as chances to learn, we begin to free ourselves from the heavy weight of overthinking. Perfectionism keeps us in a state of constant anxiety, where we're afraid to take the next step because we fear it will be wrong. The truth is, even if something doesn't go as planned, we still learn from the experience, and that is the real success. The book emphasizes the importance of practicing self-compassion when it comes to imperfection. Overthinkers often struggle with harsh self-criticism, especially when things don't go according to plan. We beat ourselves up for making mistakes, replaying the event over and over in our minds, wondering how we could have done things differently. But practicing self-compassion involves acknowledging that we're human and that making mistakes doesn't make us less valuable or capable. It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would show to a close friend. When we can be gentle with ourselves, we create space for healing, learning, and growth instead of staying stuck in guilt and regret. Another key aspect of letting go of the fear of making mistakes is challenging the need for control. Overthinkers often try to control every outcome, fearing that if they don't micromanage every detail, things will go wrong. However, life is full of uncertainty, and trying to control every aspect only increases anxiety. The book encourages us to accept that some things are beyond our control, and that we can't predict every outcome. Trying to control everything often leaves us paralyzed, unable to move forward. The act of letting go, releasing the need to control every single variable, can be incredibly freeing. It allows us to take risks, make decisions, and learn from whatever happens next, without the pressure of perfection. In addition, the book highlights the importance of reframing failure. Overthinkers often view failure as a personal flaw, as a reflection of their inadequacy. But failure, when viewed through a different lens, can be a powerful tool for growth. Reframing failure involves seeing it not as a setback, but as a learning opportunity. When we make a mistake, instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" we can ask, "What can I learn from this experience?" This shift in mindset helps us break free from the paralysis of overthinking and empowers us to take action, knowing that mistakes are not the end, but part of the journey. The book also introduces the concept of self-validation, which is crucial for overcoming the fear of making mistakes. Overthinkers often seek validation from others, wanting reassurance that we're doing things right, that we're good enough. But relying on external validation for our worth can be exhausting and unfulfilling. The book suggests that the real key to overcoming the fear of making mistakes is learning to validate ourselves. This means recognizing our own worth, regardless of whether we're perfect or whether others approve of our actions. Self-validation allows us to embrace our imperfection without the need for constant approval from others, freeing us from the cycle of overthinking and self-doubt. Another important practice is setting realistic expectations for ourselves. Perfectionism often involves setting impossibly high standards, expecting ourselves to perform flawlessly in every area of life. This creates a constant state of pressure, which only fuels overthinking. The book advises that we should aim for progress, not perfection. When we accept that we don't need to do everything perfectly, we give ourselves permission to make mistakes and learn from them. Instead of focusing on achieving flawless results, we should focus on continuous improvement, one step at a time. By setting realistic expectations and celebrating small wins, we take the pressure off ourselves and move away from perfectionism. The book also advocates for developing a growth mindset. People with a growth mindset understand that abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, persistence, and learning. They see challenges as opportunities to grow rather than as threats to their self-worth. When you adopt a growth mindset, the fear of making mistakes diminishes because you know that mistakes are part of the learning process. You understand that each failure brings you closer to mastery, and you're not defined by your mistakes. Instead of avoiding challenges, you embrace them as opportunities to expand your knowledge and skills. This mindset encourages you to take risks, to try new things, and to learn from every experience. The book suggests that embracing imperfection can also be achieved through creative expression. When you allow yourself to be creative without the pressure of perfection, you begin to release the grip that overthinking has on your mind. Whether it's through art, writing, music, or any other form of self-expression, creativity allows you to explore, experiment, and make mistakes without judgment. The process of creating something imperfectly can be incredibly freeing. It teaches you that it's okay to be messy, to be vulnerable, and to make mistakes along the way. Creativity is a wonderful tool for embracing imperfection and letting go of the need for perfection. Another powerful tool for letting go of the fear of mistakes is mindful acceptance. Instead of resisting imperfection, the book encourages you to accept it fully. Mindful acceptance means acknowledging that mistakes are part of the human experience and that you can be at peace with them. It's about letting go of the need to control every aspect of life and embracing the flow of life as it comes. When you accept that things won't always go as planned and that imperfection is natural, you stop fearing mistakes and start embracing them as valuable lessons. Overthinkers often focus so much on the end result that they forget to enjoy the journey. The process of learning, growing, and evolving is just as important as the final achievement. By focusing on the journey, rather than obsessing over the destination, you create space for joy, creativity, and exploration. You embrace imperfection and understand that each step, no matter how small or messy, is part of the beautiful, imperfect path of life. This extended chapter provides deep insights into how perfectionism and the fear of making mistakes contribute to overthinking and offers practical strategies to embrace imperfection, self-compassion, and a growth mindset. It encourages your audience to let go of the need for perfection and focus on learning, growth, and progress. Let me know if you'd like any further revisions or additions. Chapter 8. Embracing Imperfection. How to let go of the fear of making mistakes. Overthinking and perfectionism are often closely intertwined. We fear making mistakes so much that we get caught in endless loops of mental chatter, obsessing over every little detail. This constant worry about not being good enough, not being perfect, or not measuring up leads to paralysis. Instead of moving forward, we stay stuck, ruminating on every possible outcome and questioning every decision. However, as the book highlights, the key to breaking free from overthinking lies in embracing imperfection and letting go of the fear of making mistakes. One of the first steps in overcoming the fear of mistakes is changing your relationship with failure. So often, we equate making a mistake with being a failure. However, mistakes are simply part of the process of growth and learning. The book encourages you to reframe your perception of failure. Instead of seeing it as a negative or something to be ashamed of, see it as an opportunity to improve and evolve. Failure isn't a permanent mark on your character. It's a temporary setback that provides valuable lessons. By shifting your perspective in this way, you free yourself from the anxiety and fear of making mistakes. Another crucial aspect of embracing imperfection is self-compassion. Overthinkers often have harsh inner critics that are quick to judge, belittle, and criticize. When we make mistakes, this critical voice gets even louder, telling us that we're not good enough or that we should have done better. But practicing self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that you would offer to a friend. When you make a mistake, instead of criticizing yourself, show yourself empathy. Acknowledge that everyone makes mistakes and that you're no less worthy because of them. Self-compassion creates a supportive environment where mistakes can be seen as opportunities to learn rather than things to fear. The book also delves into the concept of perfectionism, a belief that we must achieve flawless results at all costs. Perfectionism often paralyzes us, keeping us stuck in an endless cycle of overthinking. The fear of making mistakes holds us back from taking risks, trying new things, or making decisions. Perfectionism can be exhausting and counterproductive because it places unrealistic demands on us. Rather than striving for perfection, the book urges us to aim for progress instead. Each step, no matter how small, is a victory. Rather than obsessing over achieving flawless outcomes, focus on improving over time. Celebrate progress, no matter how imperfect it may seem, and acknowledge the growth that happens along the way. One of the best ways to challenge perfectionism is through the practice of setting realistic expectations. Many overthinkers set impossibly high standards for themselves, believing that anything less than perfect is a failure. These unrealistic expectations create an overwhelming amount of pressure, which only fuels the cycle of overthinking. The book suggests setting achievable, realistic goals that allow for growth and flexibility. It's important to remember that you don't need to get everything right every time. Progress is built on small, consistent steps, and those steps often involve making mistakes and learning from them. By adjusting your expectations to be more realistic, you take off the pressure of perfection and open yourself up to the possibility of success, even in imperfection. A key tool the book provides for embracing imperfection is mindfulness. Mindfulness allows you to observe your thoughts without judgment, which is incredibly helpful for letting go of the fear of mistakes. When you practice mindfulness, you can observe when your mind starts to spiral into worry or when you begin to judge yourself for making a mistake. Rather than reacting with self-criticism, mindfulness helps you stay present and accept the imperfection of the moment. You become aware of your thoughts without getting caught up in them, allowing you to break free from the cycle of overthinking. With mindfulness, you can approach mistakes with curiosity instead of fear, viewing them as part of the journey, not as obstacles. The book also stresses the importance of letting go of control. Overthinkers often try to control every aspect of a situation, fearing that if they don't, something will go wrong. This need for control can make us anxious and prevent us from taking risks or making decisions. The truth is, there will always be elements of life that are beyond our control, and that's okay. When you let go of the need to control every detail, you free yourself from the paralyzing fear of making mistakes. The book advises focusing on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your response to challenges, and letting go of the rest. This release of control allows you to move forward with confidence, knowing that mistakes are just part of the learning process. Reframing is another powerful tool discussed in the book. When you make a mistake, it's easy to slip into negative self-talk and get caught up in feelings of inadequacy. But reframing allows you to change the story you're telling yourself. Instead of thinking, "I messed up, I'm a failure," You can reframe it as, I made a mistake, but I can learn from this. This is a chance to grow. By changing the narrative around mistakes, you empower yourself to move beyond the fear and use mistakes as stepping stones towards success. Reframing helps you shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, where mistakes are seen as opportunities rather than threats. The book also emphasizes the importance of taking action, even in the face of imperfection. Overthinking can keep you paralyzed in indecision, but the key to breaking free is to take small steps forward, even if they aren't perfect. Often, overthinkers get stuck in the planning phase, trying to figure out the perfect solution before taking any action. The book advises that the best way to overcome this is to simply start. Take the next step, even if you're not sure it will be flawless. By taking action, you move beyond overthinking and build momentum that helps you learn, adapt, and grow. Mistakes are inevitable, but they provide valuable feedback that can guide you on your path forward. The book recommends celebrating imperfection as a practice of gratitude. Every mistake is a chance to learn. Every failure is an opportunity to grow. By celebrating these moments, you shift your perspective from one of fear to one of gratitude. You begin to see imperfection not as something to be avoided, but as a natural part of the human experience. Gratitude for your mistakes encourages you to take risks, make decisions, and embrace the uncertainty that comes with them. When you focus on what you can learn from imperfection, you create a mindset that embraces the fullness of life, both the successes and the setbacks, and you free yourself from the grip of overthinking. This expanded version provides a thorough exploration of how to embrace imperfection, challenge perfectionism, and break free from the fear of mistakes. It includes practical strategies for self-compassion, reframing, letting go of control, and taking action, helping your audience understand that mistakes are part of growth and learning, not things to fear. Let me know if you need any further adjustments or additions. Chapter 9. Cultivating Patience, the key to overcoming the urge to rush. In today's fast-paced world, there's a constant pressure to move quickly, achieve results immediately, and keep up with the pace of everyone around us. Overthinking often arises from this rush, a fear of falling behind, of missing opportunities, or of not being good enough compared to others. This pressure to hurry can leave us feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and constantly on edge. The book emphasizes that one of the most effective ways to overcome overthinking is to cultivate patience, not just with others, but with ourselves. By slowing down and practicing patience, we can find clarity, reduce stress, and make better, more thoughtful decisions. Patience is often misunderstood as simply waiting for something to happen. However, true patience involves mindfully accepting the present moment without rushing toward the next goal or outcome. It's about understanding that everything has its own time and that not everything needs to be done in a hurry. When we're patient with ourselves, we allow space for mistakes, growth, and self-compassion, instead of forcing ourselves to achieve perfection or meet unrealistic deadlines. The book stresses that this type of patience is not passive, it's active engagement with the process of life, one moment at a time. One of the first steps to cultivating patience is reframing the idea of success. Society often defines success as achieving certain milestones quickly, graduating, getting a promotion, buying a house, or even reaching personal goals in record time. But the pressure to succeed quickly can be a breeding ground for overthinking. We begin to question whether we're on the right path or if we're falling behind. The book advises us to shift our perspective on success. True success isn't measured by how fast we get to a goal, but by how well we navigate the journey. Success is about growth, learning, and persistence, not about racing to an endpoint. By redefining success in terms of the process, not the outcome, we can release the urgency that often drives overthinking. Another powerful aspect of patience is the ability to accept uncertainty. Overthinkers often feel the need to have everything figured out, and when they don't, anxiety kicks in. We rush to find answers, to solve problems, and to plan for every possible outcome. But the truth is, life is full of uncertainty, and there will always be things beyond our control. The book emphasizes that cultivating patience allows us to sit with that uncertainty instead of trying to control it. By learning to tolerate discomfort and uncertainty, we can move away from the impulse to rush and instead adopt a more thoughtful, deliberate approach to decision-making. Patience teaches us that it's okay to not have all the answers right now, and that sometimes the best course of action is simply to wait, reflect, and allow the answers to come in their own time. The book also highlights the importance of slowing down in our daily lives. We live in an age where everything is designed to be fast. Instant messaging, fast food, and quick fixes. But this constant rush creates an underlying sense of stress and impatience. To cultivate patience, we must learn to slow down intentionally. This might mean taking longer to complete tasks, allowing ourselves more time to think, or simply stepping away from the hustle and bustle. The book encourages practicing the art of delayed gratification, resisting the urge to rush through things for the sake of immediate results. By savoring the process, whether it's completing a project, having a conversation, or taking time to rest, we create space for clarity and reduce the anxiety that comes with rushing. One practical way to cultivate patience is through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to focus on the present moment, rather than worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. Overthinkers often struggle with patience because they're either consumed by fear of what could go wrong or regret over past mistakes. Mindfulness allows us to be fully present in the moment, appreciating what is happening right now without the constant urge to rush ahead. Whether it's through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply paying attention to the sensations of daily activities, mindfulness helps us develop a sense of patience by anchoring us in the present. The book also suggests practicing self-compassion as part of cultivating patience. Overthinkers are often their own worst critics, pushing themselves too hard and expecting immediate results. We demand perfection from ourselves and become frustrated when we don't achieve it right away. Self-compassion involves acknowledging that it's okay to be imperfect and that growth takes time. When we practice self-compassion, we release the pressure to achieve everything quickly and allow ourselves the space to learn, fail, and try again. The book emphasizes that patience with ourselves is a form of self-love, helping us grow without the constant self-criticism that fuels overthinking. In addition to practicing patience with ourselves, it's also important to practice patience with others. Overthinkers often feel a sense of urgency in their relationships, rushing conversations, wanting others to understand quickly, or forcing solutions to problems without taking the time to listen. The book encourages us to be more patient in our interactions with others, allowing space for open communication, reflection, and understanding. When we are patient with others, we also create a more patient environment for ourselves, which reduces the need to rush through life and enhances our ability to think clearly and act thoughtfully. One of the biggest challenges in cultivating patience is the fear that if we slow down, we'll fall behind or miss opportunities. Overthinkers often feel that if they don't constantly push themselves to be busy and productive, they're wasting time. However, the book argues that true productivity comes from working with patience and clarity, not from rushing or forcing results. When we take the time to reflect, consider all options, and make thoughtful decisions, we often find that our efforts are more efficient and effective. Patience allows us to approach challenges with a calm, clear mind, which ultimately leads to better outcomes. Finally, the book encourages celebrating progress rather than focusing solely on the end goal. Overthinkers tend to fixate on the destination, but cultivating patience means enjoying the process and acknowledging the small wins along the way. Celebrate each step, no matter how small, and recognize that the journey is just as important as the destination. Patience is not about enduring something difficult. It's about embracing the journey and finding joy in the process of growth. When we shift our focus to progress, we release the pressure of perfection and allow ourselves the space to grow at our own pace. This expanded version of Chapter 9 dives deep into the importance of cultivating patience to overcome the impulse to rush, especially when dealing with overthinking. It highlights practical strategies such as mindfulness, reframing success, self-compassion, and embracing uncertainty. By learning to slow down and embrace the process, we can reduce anxiety, gain clarity, and make better, more thoughtful decisions. Let me know if you need further adjustments or additional insights. Chapter 10. Taking Action, Even When You're Afraid. Overcoming the Paralysis of Overthinking. Overthinking is a silent, invisible force that can paralyze us from taking action. We get caught in the trap of analyzing every possible outcome, replaying every decision, and trying to predict every possible failure. The result? We freeze. The more we think about the steps we need to take, the harder it becomes to actually move forward. We become trapped in a cycle of inaction, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect decision before we take a step forward. But as the book points out, this fear of imperfection or failure can prevent us from making any progress at all. Taking action, even when we're afraid, is one of the most powerful ways to break free from overthinking and move forward in life. The first step to overcoming the paralysis of overthinking is acknowledging the fear. Overthinkers often experience a fear of making mistakes or failing, which keeps them stuck in the planning phase. We get so focused on what could go wrong that we fail to see the opportunities that are right in front of us. The book emphasizes that it's important to recognize this fear for what it is, a natural human response to uncertainty. Fear isn't something to be ashamed of. It's a normal part of the process of stepping into the unknown. By acknowledging the fear without letting it control us, we can start to take action despite it. One of the biggest barriers to taking action is the belief that we need to have everything figured out before we can begin. Overthinkers often feel the need to have a perfect plan, a detailed strategy, or an answer to every possible question before taking the first step. However, the book reminds us that perfection is a trap. No matter how much planning we do, we'll never have all the answers. The key is to start with what you know, take the first step, and trust that the rest will unfold as you move forward. The book emphasizes that taking action, even if it's imperfect, is always better than waiting for the perfect moment that may never come. The book offers a simple yet powerful strategy for overcoming the paralysis of overthinking. Break down the task into small, manageable steps. Overthinking often occurs when we look at a task as one overwhelming whole, leading to feelings of dread and avoidance. But when we break a task down into smaller, achievable steps, the task becomes less intimidating. Instead of thinking, "I need to complete this massive project," break it down into smaller, actionable pieces, such as, "Today, I will write the introduction," or "This hour, I'll outline the first section." The more manageable you make the task, the easier it becomes to take the first step. The book encourages you to celebrate small victories along the way, building momentum and reducing the weight of the task. Another strategy the book advocates is the 5-minute rule. Often, the hardest part of taking action is simply getting started. We procrastinate because the task seems too big, too overwhelming, or too difficult. The 5-minute rule suggests committing to just 5 minutes of work. You don't have to commit to finishing the task or solving the problem entirely. Just commit to doing the task for 5 minutes. Once you start, you'll often find that you're able to continue much longer. The key is to remove the pressure of perfection and simply focus on taking that first step. This rule helps to break through the mental barriers of overthinking by allowing you to take action without the need for a perfect plan or outcome. Fear of failure is another major contributor to overthinking and inaction. We fear that if we make a mistake, we'll be judged, ridiculed, or that the consequences will be catastrophic. The book encourages us to reframe failure as feedback, not a verdict on our worth. When you take action, whether you succeed or fail, you're always learning. Each mistake is a lesson, a stepping stone towards success. The book emphasizes that failure is not a reflection of who you are as a person. It's just part of the process of growth and learning. When we stop viewing failure as something to avoid at all costs, we open ourselves up to the possibility of growth and improvement. The book also emphasizes the power of self-trust in overcoming overthinking. Overthinkers often lack confidence in their own judgment, constantly second-guessing themselves and wondering if they're making the right decision. But self-trust is key to moving forward. The more we doubt ourselves, the more we get stuck in analysis paralysis. The book suggests developing self-trust by reminding yourself of your past successes, the times you've overcome obstacles, and the decisions you've made that led to positive outcomes. By building this internal confidence, we become more willing to take action, even when the outcome is uncertain. Another important concept discussed in the book is embracing discomfort. Overthinkers often want to avoid discomfort or uncertainty, which can keep us stuck in inaction. But the truth is, discomfort is a natural part of the process of change and growth. The book encourages you to lean into discomfort and accept it as part of the journey. Whether it's the discomfort of starting something new, making a difficult decision, or stepping outside of your comfort zone, discomfort signals that you're moving toward growth. The more we learn to tolerate discomfort, the less fear we'll have about taking action. Taking action doesn't mean that you have to move forward in a straight line. Life is messy, and decisions are rarely clear-cut. The book encourages us to embrace the trial-and-error nature of progress. Instead of obsessing over every possible outcome, take action and adjust along the way. The first step doesn't have to be perfect, it's just the beginning of the journey. Each step is an experiment, and each experiment teaches us something valuable. By releasing the need for a perfectly executed plan and simply moving forward, you make progress and gain clarity. The book encourages us to celebrate the act of taking action itself. Often, overthinkers focus solely on the results, the success or failure of the task at hand. But taking action, no matter the outcome, is an accomplishment in itself. The act of breaking free from the paralysis of overthinking and moving forward is a victory worth celebrating. By recognizing and acknowledging your efforts, you build confidence and create momentum for the next step. This celebration reinforces the habit of taking action and helps to diminish the grip of overthinking. This expanded chapter offers practical strategies and mindset shifts to overcome the fear of taking action, even when overthinking tries to hold us back. By breaking tasks into smaller steps, practicing self-trust, reframing failure as feedback, and embracing discomfort, we can move forward despite the fear and paralysis that often accompany overthinking. Let me know if you need further revisions or additional insights. Chapter 11. Building Momentum. How small steps lead to big change. One of the most powerful ways to break free from overthinking is to build momentum. Overthinkers often become trapped in the cycle of thinking and rethinking, but momentum allows you to move beyond analysis paralysis and take consistent action. The book highlights that momentum is not about making huge, overwhelming leaps. It's about taking small, manageable steps that gradually build upon each other. The more you take action, the more momentum you create, which propels you forward and helps you overcome the inertia of overthinking. At its core, momentum is the ability to keep moving forward, no matter how small the steps may be. It's about starting with one simple action and then using that first step as a catalyst for the next. When we start taking action, even in small increments, we create a sense of progress, which in turn gives us the motivation to continue. The book emphasizes that it's not about having everything figured out from the start. It's about starting and then letting the process unfold. Every small step you take contributes to the overall change, and each step adds a layer of confidence, clarity, and momentum. The book provides a key strategy for building momentum. Start with the easiest, most manageable step. Overthinkers often feel overwhelmed by the size of a task or project, which leads to procrastination and avoidance. But when you focus on the first, simplest action you can take, no matter how small, you set yourself in motion. This could be something as simple as making a phone call, sending an email, or writing down your goals. The important thing is to start, and once you begin, you'll likely find that it becomes easier to continue. A critical aspect of building momentum is the concept of consistency. It's not about doing everything in one big burst. It's about doing something, no matter how small, every day. The book emphasizes that consistent small steps, taken over time, lead to significant change. Overthinkers often wait for the perfect moment to take action, but the reality is that there's no such thing as the perfect moment. Change happens in the small, everyday actions. By committing to consistency, even if it's just a few minutes a day, you create a rhythm that builds on itself. The key is showing up regularly and doing something, even if it's just a small task, because that consistency is what creates the forward momentum. Another important factor in building momentum is celebrating small wins. Overthinkers often focus on the end goal and the distance they still have to go, which can lead to feelings of discouragement or frustration. However, the book advises that you celebrate every small victory along the way, whether it's completing a small task, making a decision, or taking a step forward. Each moment of progress is worthy of recognition. Celebrating small wins boosts your confidence and reinforces the habit of taking action. It's a reminder that every small step counts and that progress is being made, even if it's not immediately obvious. This sense of accomplishment helps to create the energy needed to keep going. The book also talks about the power of momentum in overcoming setbacks. Overthinkers are often afraid of failure, and this fear can prevent them from taking action at all. However, building momentum is not about avoiding mistakes or setbacks. It's about learning to keep going even when things don't go perfectly. Setbacks are a natural part of the process, but they don't have to derail your progress. The book emphasizes that momentum is the ability to keep moving forward, even in the face of challenges. When you experience a setback, rather than letting it stop you, use it as an opportunity to reflect, learn, and adjust your approach. Momentum allows you to recover more quickly and get back on track, because it's already propelling you forward. Breaking big goals into smaller, actionable steps is another key to creating momentum. Overthinkers often get stuck because they're focused on the end result, and the big picture can feel overwhelming. The book recommends breaking down big goals into small, bite-sized tasks that can be completed in a manageable time frame. This makes the goal feel less intimidating and gives you clear, actionable steps to take. As you check off each small task, you gain momentum that carries you forward. The process of breaking things down makes it easier to see progress and stay motivated without feeling overwhelmed by the size of the task. The book also highlights the importance of creating a routine that supports momentum. Overthinkers often get distracted by external factors, social media, other people's opinions, or daily stressors that derail their focus and productivity. To maintain momentum, it's important to create a routine that aligns with your goals and helps you stay on track. Whether it's setting aside a specific time each day to work on your goals or creating a structure for how you tackle tasks, routines provide consistency and clarity. A solid routine keeps you focused on the task at hand and helps eliminate distractions that might otherwise cause you to lose momentum. A common challenge for overthinkers is staying motivated when progress feels slow. The book emphasizes that motivation doesn't always come first. It often follows action. In other words, the more you act, the more motivated you'll become. Overthinking can make us feel like we're stuck, but momentum builds as we take action. Even when motivation feels low, taking just one small step can reignite your energy and drive. The key is to push through the initial resistance by taking action, and soon enough you'll find that motivation starts to follow. Building momentum helps to create a sense of forward motion that makes you want to keep going, even when things get tough. The book encourages building accountability into your momentum-building process. When you're accountable to others, it can be a powerful motivator to keep moving forward. Whether it's through a friend, a mentor, or a group, sharing your goals and progress with others holds you accountable and helps you stay on track. Knowing that someone else is rooting for your success and checking in on your progress gives you an extra push to keep taking steps, even when you feel stuck or uncertain. Accountability adds an external layer of motivation that complements the internal drive created by momentum. The book encourages us to be patient with the process of building momentum. Change takes time, and it's easy to become discouraged if results don't appear immediately. But momentum builds slowly, and the more consistent action you take, the greater the progress you'll see. It's important to trust the process and recognize that even the smallest steps are leading to big change. Patience is a key ingredient in maintaining momentum, allowing you to keep moving forward, even when it feels like progress is slow. This chapter expands on the power of momentum in overcoming overthinking, offering actionable strategies such as starting with small steps, celebrating wins, staying consistent, learning from setbacks, and building accountability. The book emphasizes that even small, consistent actions build momentum that leads to big changes over time. By focusing on progress rather than perfection, overthinkers can overcome their fear and hesitation, taking the necessary steps toward their goals. Let me know if you need further refinements or adjustments. Chapter 12. Developing a growth mindset. How shifting your perspective can break the cycle of overthinking. Overthinking often stems from a place of fear and self-doubt. We get caught up in the belief that we must be perfect, that our actions must lead to flawless results, and that mistakes are to be avoided at all costs. This fixed mindset keeps us stuck in a loop of indecision and overanalysis. The more we dwell on our perceived shortcomings, the more trapped we feel by our thoughts. However, the book emphasizes that developing a growth mindset is one of the most powerful tools to break free from the cycle of overthinking. By shifting your perspective and viewing challenges as opportunities to learn, you can silence the fear that drives overthinking and replace it with a mindset focused on growth, resilience, and self-compassion. A growth mindset is rooted in the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed over time through effort, practice, and learning. This contrasts with a fixed mindset, where people believe that their abilities are set in stone and that they must prove their worth through perfection. People with a fixed mindset see mistakes as a reflection of their abilities and often avoid challenges for fear of failing. On the other hand, people with a growth mindset embrace challenges and view setbacks as a natural part of the learning process. The book explains that by cultivating a growth mindset, you can approach situations with a sense of curiosity, knowing that every experience offers a chance to improve and evolve. One of the key aspects of a growth mindset is the ability to embrace challenges. Overthinkers often avoid taking action or trying new things because they fear failure. They get stuck in the cycle of analyzing every possible outcome and trying to predict every mistake. The book encourages you to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your self-worth. When you approach a challenge with the mindset of learning rather than performing perfectly, you break free from the constraints of overthinking. Instead of being paralyzed by fear of failure, you view the challenge as a chance to improve, expand your skills, and build resilience. Another crucial aspect of developing a growth mindset is focusing on effort over outcome. Overthinkers often focus exclusively on the end result, the success or failure, without appreciating the process of getting there. The book emphasizes that growth happens through consistent effort, not through achieving a flawless result. By shifting the focus from perfection to effort, you create space for self-compassion and reduce the pressure that comes with overthinking. The key is to celebrate the effort you put into the process, regardless of the outcome. When you shift your perspective in this way, you free yourself from the fear of making mistakes and embrace the journey of learning. The book also highlights the importance of embracing failure as feedback. People with a fixed mindset often see failure as a reflection of their abilities, leading to self-criticism and discouragement. However, the book encourages you to view failure differently. Instead of seeing failure as an endpoint, view it as valuable feedback that guides you toward improvement. Every time you make a mistake or experience a setback, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time? This approach not only shifts your mindset, but also helps you develop resilience in the face of challenges. Rather than getting stuck in the cycle of overthinking and self-doubt, you use failures as stepping stones towards success. A key strategy the book suggests for cultivating a growth mindset is changing your internal dialogue. Overthinkers often have an inner critic that feeds negative self-talk, constantly questioning their abilities and doubting their worth. The book encourages you to challenge these thoughts by asking yourself, is this thought helping me grow, or is it holding me back? When you catch yourself engaging in self-criticism or overthinking, replace those thoughts with affirmations that align with a growth mindset. For example, instead of thinking, I can't do this, shift the thought to, I haven't mastered this yet, but I can learn and improve. Changing your internal dialogue from fixed negative thoughts to growth-oriented positive thoughts helps to rewire your brain and strengthen your mindset. The book also emphasizes the power of persistence and resilience. People with a growth mindset understand that success doesn't happen overnight. They embrace setbacks as part of the process and are committed to continuing despite obstacles. Overthinkers often stop taking action because they fear failure or don't see immediate results. However, by developing persistence, you build the resilience needed to move past setbacks and keep moving forward. The book encourages you to adopt the mindset that failure is not permanent. Every setback is an opportunity to try again with more knowledge and experience. Persistence builds confidence and reduces the paralyzing effects of overthinking by reminding you that each attempt brings you closer to your goal. Another critical component of a growth mindset is the ability to seek feedback and learn from others. Overthinkers often get stuck in their heads, trying to figure everything out on their own, which only exacerbates the cycle of overthinking. The book suggests that instead of overanalyzing every detail, seek constructive feedback from trusted sources. Feedback is a tool for growth, not criticism. It provides an external perspective that can help you see things more clearly and move forward with confidence. By embracing feedback, you continue to develop, learn, and improve without getting trapped in the cycle of self-doubt. The book also introduces the concept of embracing the power of yet. Overthinkers often get discouraged when they feel they haven't mastered something or when they face difficulties. The power of yet reminds you that not mastering something right away doesn't mean you're not capable. It simply means that you haven't gotten there yet. This shift in perspective takes away the urgency and pressure of perfectionism, allowing you to approach challenges with patience and optimism. The book encourages you to adopt the phrase, "I can't do this yet," as a way to remind yourself that growth takes time and that you're on a continuous path of improvement. The book stresses the importance of celebrating small successes. A growth mindset is not about waiting until you've achieved the ultimate goal to celebrate. It's about acknowledging every small step you take along the way. Each time you overcome a challenge, learn something new, or make progress, take a moment to celebrate. These small wins add up and reinforce the growth mindset, building confidence and reducing the need for perfection. When you celebrate progress, no matter how small, you stay motivated and continue to build momentum toward your goals. This expanded version of Chapter 12 focuses on how developing a growth mindset can break the cycle of overthinking and lead to a more fulfilling, action-oriented life. By shifting from a fixed mindset, where abilities are seen as static, to a growth mindset, which embraces challenges, effort, feedback, and failure as opportunities to learn, you can reduce self-doubt and overthinking. The book offers actionable strategies for building a growth mindset, such as changing your internal dialogue, practicing persistence, seeking feedback, and celebrating small successes. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments or additions. Chapter 13. Practicing Mindfulness. How being present can end the overthinking cycle. Overthinking thrives when our minds are either in the past, rehashing old mistakes and regrets, or in the future, filled with worry and uncertainty about what might happen next. Our thoughts become disconnected from the present moment, and this mental distraction feeds into the anxiety and stress that overthinking brings. The book emphasizes that mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools to end the cycle of overthinking. By bringing our awareness back to the present moment, we can break free from the spiraling thoughts that consume us and regain control over our minds. Mindfulness, at its core, is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting caught up in them. The book explains that mindfulness is not about silencing the mind completely, but about noticing what's happening in the moment and choosing how to respond, rather than being controlled by automatic reactions. When we're mindful, we stop allowing our thoughts to control us and start to see them as transient, passing experiences. This shift in perspective helps us to stop overthinking and move from a place of anxiety and stress to one of clarity and calm. The book explains that mindfulness isn't just about meditation, it's a way of life. It's about incorporating mindfulness into your everyday actions and interactions. Whether you're eating, walking, talking to someone, or even doing the dishes, mindfulness allows you to engage fully in the activity at hand without being distracted by racing thoughts. Overthinkers often spend too much time thinking about the future or rehashing the past, which leaves them disconnected from the present. Practicing mindfulness helps you return to the moment where life is actually happening. One of the first steps in practicing mindfulness is awareness, simply noticing when your mind starts to wander. The book encourages you to become an observer of your thoughts. When you find yourself spiraling into overthinking, pause for a moment and notice where your thoughts are going. Are they focused on the past or the future? Are you worrying about something that may never happen? By becoming aware of the pattern of overthinking, you can start to shift your attention back to the present. This awareness is a powerful tool because it interrupts the cycle of overthinking and gives you the opportunity to refocus your attention. The book also introduces several mindfulness techniques that can help break the overthinking cycle. One of the most effective practices is the body scan. This technique involves bringing your attention to each part of your body, starting from your toes and working your way up to your head. As you focus on each area of your body, notice any sensations you're feeling: tightness, warmth, tension, or relaxation. By focusing on your body, you anchor yourself in the present moment and create space for your mind to relax. The body scan helps you become more aware of the physical signs of stress and overthinking, such as shallow breathing or muscle tension, and teaches you how to release them. Another powerful mindfulness technique is breathing exercises. Deep, slow breathing is a simple way to calm your mind and body when overthinking begins to take hold. The book recommends focusing on your breath whenever you feel your mind racing. Take a deep breath in through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Focus all your attention on the sensation of the breath as it enters and leaves your body. This practice helps to center your mind and slow down the rapid thought patterns that fuel overthinking. The more you practice mindful breathing, the easier it becomes to return to a state of calm and focus whenever you're feeling overwhelmed. Mindfulness also involves acceptance, the ability to be present with whatever is happening without judgment. Overthinkers often resist their thoughts, trying to push away anxiety or fear, which only amplifies these emotions. The book stresses that mindfulness is about accepting whatever arises in your mind without labeling it as good or bad. If negative or uncomfortable thoughts arise, simply notice them, acknowledge them, and then let them pass. When we stop resisting our thoughts, they lose their power over us. This acceptance helps you to let go of the mental battle and focus on what is happening right now, in this moment. The book also highlights the importance of non-reactivity. Overthinkers often react impulsively to their thoughts and emotions, which can create more stress and anxiety. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts without reacting to them. For example, if you have a thought like, "I'm going to fail," instead of immediately believing it or getting caught up in the emotion, you can simply acknowledge it by saying to yourself, "I'm having the thought that I might fail, but that's not necessarily true." By creating space between your thoughts and your reactions, you break the cycle of overthinking and reduce the emotional intensity associated with the thought. Another key concept in mindfulness is being kind to yourself. Overthinkers are often their own harshest critics, beating themselves up for having negative thoughts or feeling anxious. But mindfulness encourages self-compassion. Instead of judging yourself for overthinking or feeling fearful, offer yourself kindness and understanding. The book suggests that you treat yourself the way you would treat a close friend who was struggling with overthinking. When you're able to show yourself compassion, you reduce the mental strain that comes with self-criticism and allow yourself to move forward with more ease and acceptance. The book also introduces mindful awareness of your environment. When we overthink, we often become so absorbed in our own thoughts that we miss the world around us. Mindfulness teaches us to engage fully with our environment, whether it's noticing the colors and textures around you or paying attention to the sounds, smells, and sensations in your surroundings. This practice helps you reconnect with the present moment and break free from the mental chaos of overthinking. Even a few moments of mindful awareness can help calm your mind and refocus your attention. The book emphasizes that mindfulness is a practice. It takes time and consistency to develop. Overcoming overthinking is not an instant fix, but a gradual process of training your mind to be more present, more aware, and more accepting. The more you practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to quiet the mental chatter and focus on the here and now. Mindfulness is not a quick solution, but a lifelong tool that helps you develop a healthier relationship with your thoughts, emotions, and experiences. This expanded version of Chapter 13 explores how mindfulness can help break the cycle of overthinking by teaching you to be present, accept your thoughts without judgment, and develop a healthier relationship with your mind. The book offers several practical mindfulness techniques, such as body scans, mindful breathing, and non-reactivity, to help you manage overthinking and live more fully in the moment. Let me know if you need further adjustments or would like additional insights. Chapter 14: The Power of Self-Compassion. How being kind to yourself breaks the cycle of overthinking. Overthinking is often driven by a harsh inner critic, a voice in your head that constantly points out your flaws, magnifies your mistakes, and doubts your abilities. This critical inner voice fuels self-doubt, anxiety, and stress, making it harder to move forward and take action. The book emphasizes that one of the most transformative ways to stop overthinking is by practicing self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a close friend. Self-compassion involves being gentle and supportive with yourself, especially during times of struggle, failure, or uncertainty. It's about accepting that you are imperfect, just like everyone else, and that it's okay to make mistakes and experience setbacks. Rather than judging yourself harshly, self-compassion allows you to embrace your flaws and weaknesses with care and understanding. The book explains that practicing self-compassion is not about excusing poor behavior or avoiding growth. It's about creating a nurturing environment that allows you to learn, grow, and heal without the pressure of perfectionism and self-criticism. One of the first steps in cultivating self-compassion is recognizing the role of your inner critic. Overthinkers often get caught up in a cycle of self-blame and judgment, believing that if they are hard enough on themselves, they'll improve. However, this inner criticism only perpetuates overthinking, creating a sense of fear and inadequacy that makes it difficult to take action. The book suggests that the first step is to become aware of your inner critic. Pay attention to the negative self-talk that arises when you're feeling uncertain or afraid. When you notice these thoughts, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it kind? Becoming aware of the ways your inner critic fuels overthinking is essential in learning how to replace it with self-compassion. The book introduces several strategies for shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion, starting with mindful awareness of your thoughts. Overthinkers often get lost in their minds, consumed by negative thoughts about their past mistakes or their perceived inadequacies. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts without judgment. Rather than reacting to them or letting them control your emotions, mindfulness allows you to simply notice them and then let them go. The more you practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to detach from self-critical thoughts and replace them with more balanced, compassionate perspectives. Another key component of self-compassion is self-forgiveness. Overthinkers often ruminate on past mistakes, replaying them over and over in their minds. This constant self-blame keeps them stuck, unable to move forward. The book emphasizes that self-forgiveness is a vital part of breaking the cycle of overthinking. Forgiving yourself means letting go of the past, accepting that you made a mistake, and choosing to learn from it instead of punishing yourself. Self-forgiveness is not about excusing your behavior. It's about acknowledging your humanity and allowing yourself the grace to move forward without being weighed down by regret. The book suggests practicing self-forgiveness by saying to yourself, "I am human, and it's okay to make mistakes. I will learn from this and do better next time." Self-compassion also involves treating yourself as you would a friend. Overthinkers often have high expectations for themselves and are quick to criticize when they fall short. The book encourages you to imagine how you would treat a close friend who was struggling with similar challenges. Would you berate them for their mistakes, or would you offer words of encouragement and kindness? The book emphasizes that you deserve the same compassion and support. When you treat yourself with the same care that you offer to others, you create a nurturing inner dialogue that helps you break free from overthinking and self-criticism. One powerful practice the book introduces is the idea of writing yourself a letter of compassion. This is an exercise where you write a letter to yourself as if you were writing to a dear friend who is struggling with overthinking or self-doubt. In the letter, acknowledge your pain, express understanding and empathy, and offer words of encouragement. This exercise helps you step outside of your critical self and view your situation from a place of love and kindness. The book encourages you to reread the letter whenever you feel overwhelmed by negative thoughts, as a reminder of the compassion that you deserve. The book also emphasizes the importance of setting healthy boundaries as part of self-compassion. Overthinkers often struggle with the pressure of trying to meet others' expectations, whether it's at work, in relationships, or in social settings. This pressure can lead to burnout and exacerbate overthinking. The book encourages you to recognize your limits and set boundaries that honor your well-being. Self-compassion means saying no when you need to, prioritizing your mental health, and not overcommitting to things that drain your energy. Setting healthy boundaries allows you to conserve your mental and emotional resources, reducing the stress that fuels overthinking. Another aspect of self-compassion is learning to accept imperfection. Overthinkers often feel that they must be perfect in every area of life, leading to constant self-evaluation and second-guessing. The book emphasizes that self-compassion means accepting your imperfections without judgment. You are not defined by your mistakes or shortcomings, but by your ability to learn, grow, and adapt. By accepting that perfection is unattainable, you free yourself from the pressure to be flawless and embrace the beauty of imperfection. Self-compassion allows you to show up as your authentic self, without the need to constantly prove your worth. The book also introduces the concept of self-care as an essential part of self-compassion. Overthinkers often neglect their own needs in favor of others, leading to exhaustion and mental burnout. Self-compassion means taking time to nurture yourself, whether that's through rest, exercise, creative expression, or simply doing something that brings you joy. The book emphasizes that self-care is not selfish. It's a necessary practice for maintaining your mental and emotional health. When you take care of yourself, you create a foundation of strength and resilience that helps you face challenges with a clearer mind and a more compassionate heart. The book stresses that self-compassion is an ongoing practice. It's not something you do once and then forget. It's a habit that must be cultivated every day. Just like any other skill, self-compassion requires consistent effort. The more you practice treating yourself with kindness, the easier it becomes to break the cycle of overthinking. The book encourages you to incorporate self-compassion into your daily routine, whether that's through affirmations, self-forgiveness, or simply checking in with yourself throughout the day. Over time, this practice will help you build a more positive, supportive inner dialogue that quiets the voice of overthinking and replaces it with one of self-love and acceptance. This expanded version of Chapter 14 explores how practicing self-compassion can break the cycle of overthinking by reducing the power of the inner critic, embracing imperfections, and fostering a nurturing, supportive inner dialogue. The book offers practical strategies such as self-forgiveness, writing letters of compassion, setting boundaries, and incorporating mindfulness into daily life. By learning to treat yourself with the same kindness and empathy you offer to others, you can transform your relationship with yourself and overcome the anxiety and stress of overthinking. Let me know if you need further revisions or additions. Chapter 15. The importance of taking breaks. How rest and relaxation help combat overthinking. Overthinking is a mental habit that thrives when we're constantly on the go, juggling multiple tasks and pushing ourselves to the limit. In our fast-paced world, where there is often pressure to be productive all the time, taking a break can seem counterintuitive. But the book emphasizes that one of the most powerful ways to stop overthinking is by making time for rest and relaxation. When we're constantly working, worrying, and striving, our brains can become overwhelmed, leading to fatigue, mental clutter, and ultimately, more overthinking. Taking breaks is essential to allow your mind to reset, recharge, and regain clarity. The book begins by explaining that overthinking often results from mental exhaustion. When we're constantly focused on work or other responsibilities, our mental energy depletes over time. Our minds start to run in circles, replaying the same thoughts and fears because they lack the rest needed to process information effectively. Just like how physical exertion requires rest to heal and regenerate, the mind requires breaks to stay sharp and clear. When you don't take the time to rest, your brain becomes overloaded, which makes it easier for overthinking to take hold. One of the key insights the book offers is the idea of mental energy management. Just like physical energy, mental energy is limited and needs to be replenished regularly. The book emphasizes that overthinkers often push through fatigue, thinking that by working harder or focusing more, they'll resolve their issues. However, this only exacerbates the problem. The more you push yourself, the more worn down your mind becomes, and the more likely you are to fall into a spiral of overthinking. Instead, taking intentional breaks allows you to restore your mental energy and return to your tasks with greater clarity and focus. The book outlines several types of breaks that can help combat overthinking and promote mental clarity. One of the most effective breaks is taking time away from screens. Overthinkers often find themselves glued to their phones, computers, or other digital devices, constantly consuming information and interacting with social media. While technology can be useful, it can also be a significant source of distraction and mental overload. The book encourages you to step away from screens regularly to give your brain a chance to rest. Even a short break, whether it's a 10-minute walk, sitting outside, or simply closing your eyes for a few moments, can give your mind a reset, helping to break the cycle of overthinking. Another essential practice for taking effective breaks is engaging in mindful activities. The book suggests taking breaks that involve activities designed to calm the mind and promote relaxation. This might include practicing yoga, doing deep breathing exercises, or meditating. Mindful activities help you reconnect with the present moment and release mental tension, allowing your brain to rest and reset. Mindfulness practices are particularly effective in calming the overactive mind that is characteristic of overthinking. By practicing mindfulness during breaks, you give your mind the space to breathe and process without the pressure of constant mental stimulation. The book also highlights the importance of disconnecting from work to recharge effectively. For many overthinkers, work becomes an endless cycle of tasks and responsibilities, leaving little room for rest. The book encourages you to set clear boundaries between work time and relaxation time. This could mean turning off your email notifications after hours, scheduling time for relaxation during the day, or simply committing to offline hours in the evening. Taking time away from work allows your brain to disengage from the constant pressure of tasks, giving you the mental space to refresh and recharge. By respecting these boundaries, you create a mental off switch, which helps you reset and stop overthinking about work-related issues. Physical activity is another crucial element of taking effective breaks. The book encourages incorporating exercise into your daily routine as a way to reduce stress and clear your mind. Physical activity has been shown to release endorphins, natural chemicals in the brain that reduce stress and anxiety. Whether it's a short walk, a workout, or even a gentle stretch, moving your body helps break the cycle of overthinking by shifting your focus to the physical experience. Exercise also improves circulation to the brain, promoting mental clarity and sharpness. Even a quick burst of physical activity can provide a refreshing mental reset. The book also stresses the importance of restful sleep. Overthinking often worsens when we're sleep-deprived, as a lack of rest impairs cognitive function and heightens stress. When we don't get enough sleep, our brains become foggy, making it harder to think clearly or make decisions. The book emphasizes that sleep is not just for the body, it's essential for the mind to function at its best. If you're constantly overthinking, one of the first steps is to prioritize sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night to allow your brain to process information, recover, and be ready for the challenges of the next day. In addition to physical and mindful breaks, creative expression is another great way to give your mind a mental break. The book encourages engaging in creative activities such as drawing, writing, painting, or any other form of creative outlet that allows your mind to shift focus. Creative expression helps you release mental tension and taps into a different part of your brain, promoting relaxation and a sense of well-being. These activities don't have to be perfect or goal-oriented. They're simply about giving yourself permission to let go of the pressures of overthinking and enjoy the present moment. The book also introduces the concept of the power nap. Short naps, 10 to 20 minutes, can be incredibly effective in reducing overthinking by giving your brain a quick reset. Napping allows your mind to take a break without the need for a long, drawn-out rest period. The book advises that naps should be brief to avoid grogginess and maintain your energy for the rest of the day. By incorporating power naps into your routine, you can refresh your mind, improve focus, and break the cycle of overthinking. Overthinkers often believe that if they stop for even a moment, they'll fall behind or be unproductive. However, the truth is that regular breaks improve productivity and mental clarity. By balancing work with regular periods of rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation, you not only reduce the mental strain of overthinking, but also allow your mind to perform at its highest level. The key is to listen to your body and mind, giving them the rest they need to function effectively. The book encourages readers to build rest and relaxation into their daily routine as non-negotiable practices, much like exercise and work. This expanded chapter explores how taking regular breaks, prioritizing rest, And engaging in mindful activities can help combat overthinking by allowing the brain to reset and recharge. The book offers practical strategies for incorporating breaks into daily life, such as stepping away from screens, engaging in physical activity, practicing mindfulness, and ensuring adequate sleep. Taking breaks doesn't just help with mental clarity, it fosters long-term well-being and balance. Let me know if you'd like to adjust or expand any part further. Chapter 16. Cultivating a healthy routine. How consistent habits break the cycle of overthinking. Overthinking thrives when there is chaos, uncertainty, or a lack of structure in our lives. Our minds become overwhelmed with too many thoughts, decisions, and distractions, which makes it difficult to focus, think clearly, or take meaningful action. The book highlights that one of the most effective ways to break the cycle of overthinking is by cultivating a healthy routine. When we establish consistent habits and structure in our daily lives, we reduce the mental clutter that fuels overthinking and create space for clarity, focus, and purposeful action. The book explains that routine is not about rigidity or doing things mechanically. It's about creating a sense of stability and balance that helps you navigate daily life with greater ease. Overthinkers often feel paralyzed by the uncertainty of not knowing what to do next, but having a routine eliminates this uncertainty and helps you approach each day with intention. By establishing a routine, you create mental space, allowing you to focus on what truly matters and break free from the constant barrage of thoughts. One of the first steps to building a healthy routine is starting small. Overthinkers often become overwhelmed by the idea of creating a perfect routine, thinking it must be flawless from the start. However, the book encourages you to begin with simple, manageable habits that can be incorporated into your day gradually. These could be small actions like drinking a glass of water as soon as you wake up, making your bed, or taking 5 minutes to meditate. The key is consistency, not perfection. As you build these small habits into your daily routine, you'll start to notice the positive impact they have on your mental clarity and focus. The book emphasizes the importance of creating a morning routine. The first few hours of the day set the tone for everything that follows, and how you start your morning can significantly impact your mindset and productivity. For overthinkers, the morning can often be filled with anxiety or uncertainty, as we tend to worry about the tasks ahead or what we didn't accomplish the day before. The book suggests that starting your day with intention can help you break free from this cycle. Whether it's through mindful breathing, journaling, exercising, or simply enjoying a peaceful cup of coffee, having a consistent morning routine helps you feel grounded and prepared for the day ahead. This routine creates mental space and ensures that you begin the day with a sense of control and clarity. In addition to a morning routine, the book also stresses the importance of a nighttime routine that helps you wind down and relax. Overthinkers often struggle with sleep, as the mind tends to race with thoughts, worries about the day ahead. Establishing a calming nighttime routine signals to your body and mind that it's time to rest. This might include activities such as reading, taking a warm bath, practicing deep breathing, or listening to soothing music. By creating a consistent bedtime routine, you train your mind to relax, which reduces anxiety and helps you sleep more soundly. A good night's rest is essential for mental clarity and helps prevent overthinking from taking over the next day. The book also encourages you to build productive work habits into your routine. Overthinkers often struggle with procrastination or become paralyzed by the amount of tasks they need to complete. Having a clear structure for work or study can help break the overwhelming cycle of overthinking. This might involve setting specific work hours, breaking tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, or using tools like time blocking to stay on track. The book highlights that having designated work time, followed by intentional breaks, helps to prevent burnout and ensures that you're working at your most productive. By focusing on one task at a time and sticking to a routine, you avoid the mental clutter of juggling multiple responsibilities at once, which often leads to overthinking. Another key element of a healthy routine is exercise. The book emphasizes that regular physical activity is one of the best ways to combat the mental strain of overthinking. Exercise helps reduce stress, release tension, and boost your mood by releasing endorphins. Whether it's going for a walk, practicing yoga, or hitting the gym, physical activity helps clear the mind and keeps your body and brain healthy. The book recommends incorporating movement into your daily routine, whether through short breaks throughout the day or a dedicated workout session. Consistent exercise improves focus, mental clarity, and overall well-being, which makes it easier to break the cycle of overthinking. Overthinkers often neglect their diet, either through stress eating or by not fueling their bodies properly. However, the food we eat has a profound effect on our mood, energy levels, and ability to focus. The book suggests incorporating a balanced diet that includes plenty of whole foods, such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins, to support optimal brain function. Additionally, staying hydrated throughout the day is crucial for mental clarity and preventing fatigue. By focusing on proper nutrition and hydration, you improve your physical health, which in turn enhances your ability to manage overthinking and stay focused on your goals. The book also emphasizes the role of social connection in maintaining a healthy routine. Overthinkers often isolate themselves, either because they're overwhelmed by their thoughts or because they're too consumed by their to-do list. However, social connection is a key aspect of mental well-being. Spending time with loved ones, friends, or colleagues can help you break free from the cycle of overthinking by shifting your focus outward. Whether it's having a meaningful conversation, engaging in a fun activity, or simply spending time with someone who supports you, social interaction provides emotional support and helps reduce the mental strain that leads to overthinking. The book stresses the importance of flexibility within your routine. While consistency is important, life is unpredictable, and sometimes things don't go as planned. The book advises that a healthy routine should allow for some flexibility. If you miss a workout, skip a morning routine, or don't get as much work done as you'd hoped, it's important not to beat yourself up. Instead, the book encourages you to practice self-compassion and adjust your routine as needed. Overthinking often arises from rigid expectations and self-criticism, so being kind to yourself and adjusting your routine based on circumstances helps you maintain balance without falling into stress or self-doubt. This expanded version of Chapter 16 emphasizes how cultivating a consistent routine through morning rituals, nighttime relaxation, exercise, social connection, and productive work habits can help break the cycle of overthinking. By introducing small, manageable habits into your daily life, you create mental stability and clarity, reducing anxiety and stress. The chapter provides practical advice for structuring your day to avoid overwhelm and make intentional, focused progress. Let me know if you would like further refinements or additions. Chapter 17. Letting Go of Perfectionism. How embracing imperfection helps break free from overthinking. Perfectionism is one of the most insidious contributors to overthinking. It causes us to believe that every decision, action, and outcome must be flawless in order to be valuable or meaningful. The pressure to get everything just right can lead to constant mental chatter, self-doubt, and a relentless cycle of second-guessing. The book emphasizes that one of the most effective ways to stop overthinking is by learning to let go of perfectionism and embrace imperfection. When we release the need to be perfect, we free ourselves from the paralyzing grip of overthinking and allow ourselves to live more authentically, make better decisions, and take action without fear. The first step in letting go of perfectionism is recognizing the cost of perfectionism. Overthinkers often feel that striving for perfection is necessary to succeed or be worthy of success. However, the pursuit of perfection comes at a steep price. The book explains that perfectionism often leads to procrastination, burnout, and a fear of failure. The desire to get everything right can cause us to delay taking action or avoid certain tasks altogether. This is because perfectionism creates an unrealistic standard that, in reality, is unattainable. Instead of achieving more, perfectionism limits our potential by making us afraid to make mistakes or take risks. Recognizing these costs is the first step in freeing yourself from the cycle of perfectionism. Another crucial insight the book provides is that perfectionism is often rooted in fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of not being good enough. Overthinkers often fear that if their work, decisions, or actions aren't perfect, they'll be criticized, rejected, or exposed as inadequate. The book encourages readers to examine where this fear is coming from and to understand that the pursuit of perfection is often an attempt to shield ourselves from these fears. However, the truth is that no one is perfect, and trying to live up to unrealistic standards only sets us up for disappointment. Letting go of perfectionism means accepting that mistakes, flaws, and setbacks are part of the human experience, and they don't diminish our worth or value. One of the most transformative practices in overcoming perfectionism is shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is characterized by the belief that our abilities, intelligence, and potential are static, that we either have it or we don't. This mindset reinforces perfectionism because we feel the need to prove ourselves, often at the expense of our well-being. On the other hand, a growth mindset is the belief that our abilities can be developed over time through effort, learning, and perseverance. The book explains that when we shift to a growth mindset, we begin to view mistakes and imperfections as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than as evidence of failure. This shift allows us to take action without the fear of being judged or failing, because we understand that growth comes from the process, not the perfection of the outcome. The book also introduces the idea of progress over perfection. Perfectionism often leads to an all-or-nothing mentality where anything less than perfect feels like failure. But when we focus on progress, we release the pressure of having to get everything right from the beginning. The book encourages readers to celebrate every small step of progress, no matter how imperfect it may seem. The process of improving and moving forward is just as valuable as achieving the final result. Progress is about continuous growth, not about reaching an unattainable standard of perfection. By shifting your focus to progress, you create space for imperfection and allow yourself to move forward with confidence and self-compassion. Another key aspect of letting go of perfectionism is practicing self-compassion. Overthinkers are often their own harshest critics, holding themselves to impossibly high standards and berating themselves for any perceived mistake. The book emphasizes that self-compassion is crucial in breaking free from perfectionism. Instead of criticizing yourself for not being perfect, treat yourself with kindness, understanding, and patience. Self-compassion means accepting your mistakes, learning from them, and giving yourself the grace to grow and improve over time. When you practice self-compassion, you quiet the harsh inner critic that fuels overthinking and replace it with a voice of encouragement and support. The book also suggests adopting the practice of letting go of the need for control. Perfectionists often feel the need to control every outcome, micromanaging every detail in order to avoid failure. However, this need for control can lead to anxiety and overwhelm. Letting go of control means accepting that some things are beyond our influence and that we don't need to micromanage every aspect of our lives. The book encourages you to focus on what you can control, the actions you take, the decisions you make, and how you respond to challenges. Trusting in the process and letting go of the need to control every detail reduces the mental burden of perfectionism and creates space for spontaneity, creativity, and joy. In addition, the book recommends embracing the concept of good enough. Perfectionists often struggle with the idea of good enough, believing that anything less than perfect is inadequate. However, the truth is that perfection is subjective and often unattainable. The book encourages you to ask yourself, is this good enough? And recognize that sometimes good enough is not only acceptable but preferable. Perfectionism often leads to procrastination or unnecessary stress, while striving for good enough helps you move forward and take action. The idea of good enough doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It means giving yourself permission to release unrealistic expectations and do your best without the need for perfection. The book also introduces the concept of embracing imperfection as a source of creativity and growth. When we let go of the need for perfection, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and creative expression. Perfectionism often stifles creativity because it makes us too focused on the final result and too afraid to make mistakes. The book encourages you to embrace imperfection as a necessary part of the creative process. When we give ourselves permission to be imperfect, we free ourselves to experiment, take risks, and explore new ideas. Creativity thrives in the absence of perfectionism, and by embracing imperfection, you can unlock your full creative potential. The book emphasizes the importance of being present in the process rather than focusing solely on the end result. Overthinkers often get caught up in the what-ifs of the future, constantly worrying about how things will turn out. But the key to breaking free from perfectionism is to focus on the present moment. When you are fully engaged in the process rather than obsessing over the outcome, you reduce the pressure of perfection and make space for enjoyment, learning, and growth. The book encourages you to embrace each moment as part of your journey, rather than rushing toward a destination or fixating on a perfect result. This expanded version of Chapter 17 explores how perfectionism contributes to overthinking and offers practical strategies for letting go of perfection. By shifting to a growth mindset, embracing progress over perfection, practicing self-compassion, letting go of control, and embracing imperfection as part of the creative process, you can break free from the cycle of overthinking. The chapter encourages a balanced, healthy approach to growth and success that fosters creativity, resilience, and well-being. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments or additional insights. Chapter 18. Embracing the Power of Now. How focusing on the present breaks the cycle of overthinking. Overthinking thrives when we are mentally caught between the past and the future. We constantly replay past events, worrying about things we said or did, and simultaneously project fears and anxieties about the future. This constant back and forth robs us of the peace and clarity that exists in the present moment. The book emphasizes that one of the most effective ways to break the cycle of overthinking is to embrace the power of now. By focusing fully on the present moment, we stop the endless stream of what-ifs and self-criticism that fuels overthinking. The concept of the present moment is simple yet profound. The present is all we truly have, the past is gone, and the future is uncertain. Yet overthinkers often lose touch with the present by dwelling on what has happened or worrying about what could happen. The book explains that embracing the present moment means fully engaging with what is happening right now, without judgment or distraction. It's about being aware of your surroundings, your thoughts, and your feelings, without being caught up in them. By focusing on the present, you reduce the mental clutter and allow yourself to experience peace and clarity. One of the first steps in embracing the power of now is practicing mindfulness. The book defines mindfulness as the practice of paying attention to the present moment, intentionally and without judgment. Mindfulness helps you develop awareness of your thoughts, allowing you to observe them without getting swept away by them. Overthinkers often become consumed by their thoughts, believing that they must solve every problem immediately or predict every possible outcome. Mindfulness teaches you to notice your thoughts and feelings, but not to identify with them. Instead of getting caught up in your fears or regrets, you learn to simply acknowledge them and return your attention to the present. A key practice in mindfulness is focusing on your breath. The book encourages you to use your breath as an anchor to bring you back to the present when you find yourself overthinking. Whether you're stressed, anxious, or lost in thought, taking a few deep breaths can immediately ground you. Focus on the sensation of your breath as it enters and leaves your body, and bring your awareness back to the rhythm of your breathing. This practice helps quiet the mind and disrupts the cycle of overthinking, allowing you to re-engage with the present moment. The book also emphasizes the importance of acceptance in breaking the cycle of overthinking. Overthinkers often resist the present moment, either wishing things had turned out differently in the past or worrying about what might happen in the future. This resistance creates mental tension and fuels the cycle of overthinking. The book encourages you to embrace acceptance by acknowledging that the present moment is exactly as it should be. You don't have to control everything or make everything perfect. By accepting the present as it is, without judgment, you allow yourself to let go of the constant need to control and fix things. Acceptance creates mental space, helping to free you from the endless loop of overthinking. Another powerful way to embrace the present moment is by engaging in mindful activities. The book suggests that you can integrate mindfulness into everyday tasks, whether you're eating, walking, or working. Overthinkers often rush through tasks, distracted by thoughts about the past or future, which prevents them from fully engaging in the activity at hand. Mindful activities encourage you to pay attention to the details of your experience, whether it's the taste of your food, the feeling of your feet on the ground, or the sound of your breath as you work. These activities help you stay present and connected to the world around you, reducing the mental clutter that leads to overthinking. Mindfulness turns even the simplest tasks into opportunities for focus and relaxation. The book also explores the concept of being versus doing. Overthinkers are often caught in the mindset of constantly doing, achieving, or striving for the next goal. While ambition and productivity are valuable, they can also lead to stress and burnout if we are always focused on the future. The book encourages you to shift from a doing mentality to a being mentality, where you allow yourself to simply be in the present moment. This means letting go of the need to constantly do something, and instead allowing yourself to rest, reflect, and experience life as it is. By practicing being rather than doing, you create space for peace and relaxation, breaking the cycle of overthinking and mental exhaustion. The book also introduces the idea of self-compassion as part of embracing the present. Overthinkers often criticize themselves for their perceived failures or shortcomings, which keeps them stuck in the past or future. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with kindness and understanding, even in the face of mistakes or uncertainty. When you practice self-compassion, you free yourself from the need for perfection and judgment. You can accept yourself in the present moment, knowing that you are enough as you are. Self-compassion allows you to stop overthinking your mistakes and instead focus on how you can learn and grow in the present. A key principle of embracing the present is letting go of the need for control. Overthinking often arises from the desire to control every detail of our lives, the past, the future, and even the present moment. The book explains that this desire for control creates stress and anxiety, as we try to predict every outcome and prevent every potential mistake. Letting go of control means accepting that we cannot predict or control every aspect of our lives. The present moment is dynamic and ever-changing, and the only thing we can control is how we respond to it. By letting go of the need for control, we reduce the pressure that fuels overthinking and learn to trust the process of life. The book also emphasizes that forgiveness is a key part of embracing the present. Overthinkers often carry emotional baggage from the past, regret, guilt, or resentment, that prevents them from fully engaging in the present. The book suggests that practicing forgiveness, whether it's forgiving others or forgiving yourself, is essential to breaking free from the past. When you let go of past hurts and mistakes, you make space for healing and growth in the present moment. Forgiveness is an act of self-liberation, allowing you to focus on what is happening now without the weight of unresolved emotions or negative thoughts. The book encourages you to celebrate the present moment as a way to cultivate appreciation for life as it is. Overthinkers often live in the future, constantly anticipating what's next, or in the past, replaying what could have been. By celebrating the present moment, you shift your focus to the richness of the current experience. Whether it's savoring a moment of joy, reflecting on your accomplishments, or simply appreciating the beauty around you, celebrating the present helps to reduce the mental chatter of overthinking and encourages a sense of gratitude. The more you appreciate the present, the less likely you are to get lost in the past or future. This expanded version of Chapter 18 focuses on how embracing the present moment and practicing mindfulness can break the cycle of overthinking. It offers actionable strategies such as mindful breathing, acceptance, self-compassion, and letting go of the need for control to help readers stay focused on the now. By learning to appreciate and engage with the present moment, we can reduce the mental clutter of overthinking and live with greater clarity and peace. Let me know if you need further refinements or additional insights. Chapter 19. The Role of Gratitude. How practicing gratitude shifts your focus. Away from overthinking. Overthinking often involves getting trapped in a loop of negative thoughts, fears about the future, regrets about the past, and self-criticism about the present. This cycle of anxiety and worry can prevent us from finding peace and clarity in the moment. The book emphasizes that one of the most powerful ways to break the cycle of overthinking is by cultivating gratitude. When we actively focus on what we are thankful for, we shift our attention away from the mental noise and redirect our energy toward the positive aspects of our lives. Gratitude not only reduces stress and anxiety, but also enhances our mental well-being, helping us to feel more content, grounded, and present. The book begins by explaining that gratitude is more than just a feel-good emotion. It's a mindset that we can cultivate with practice. Overthinkers often focus on what's missing in their lives or what went wrong, which perpetuates feelings of dissatisfaction and stress. Gratitude, on the other hand, encourages us to focus on what is going well, what we appreciate, and what brings us joy. By intentionally practicing gratitude, we retrain our brains to seek out the positive, which helps shift our focus away from the endless spiral of overthinking. One of the simplest and most effective ways to practice gratitude is through keeping a gratitude journal. The book recommends taking a few minutes each day to write down 3 things you're grateful for. These don't have to be monumental or life-changing. They can be small, everyday moments that bring you joy or peace. Whether it's a warm cup of coffee in the morning, a beautiful sunset, or a kind gesture from a friend, noting these small moments of gratitude helps you train your mind to notice the positive in your life. Over time, this practice can shift your focus away from overthinking and toward a mindset of appreciation. The book emphasizes that the key to gratitude is intention. It's not just about listing things you're thankful for, but truly feeling and experiencing that gratitude. Take a moment to reflect on each thing you're grateful for and connect with the positive emotions that arise. The more you intentionally engage with your gratitude, the more powerful it becomes. This intentional focus helps you move out of your head and into your heart, redirecting your energy from worry and anxiety to contentment and peace. The book also explores the concept of gratitude for challenges. Overthinkers often see challenges and setbacks as negative or as signs of failure. However, the book encourages you to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth. When we face difficulties, we often gain valuable insights, develop resilience, and learn important lessons. By practicing gratitude for challenges, we shift our perspective from one of fear and frustration to one of learning and growth. This doesn't mean ignoring the difficulties or pretending that everything is fine. It means acknowledging that challenges are an inevitable part of life and choosing to find the lessons they offer. Gratitude for challenges helps break the cycle of overthinking by fostering a mindset that embraces adversity rather than fears it. Another important aspect of gratitude is gratitude for yourself. Overthinkers often struggle with self-doubt and self-criticism, focusing on their perceived flaws and mistakes. The book emphasizes the importance of practicing gratitude for who you are and what you've accomplished. Take time to appreciate your strengths, your progress, and your unique qualities. Gratitude for yourself encourages self-compassion and boosts self-esteem, helping you break free from the cycle of negative self-talk that fuels overthinking. It also shifts the focus from what you lack to what you have, creating a sense of fulfillment and contentment. The book introduces the practice of gratitude meditation as another powerful way to cultivate a gratitude mindset. Gratitude meditation involves sitting quietly and focusing on the things you're thankful for while breathing deeply and calmly. During this practice, you might bring to mind people you're grateful for, moments of joy, or aspects of your life that bring you peace. Gratitude meditation helps you stay present, calming the mind and reducing the mental clutter of overthinking. It also deepens your connection to the positive aspects of your life, fostering a sense of peace and gratitude that extends throughout your day. In addition to practicing gratitude individually, the book highlights the power of expressing gratitude to others. Overthinkers often get caught in their own heads, dwelling on their thoughts and fears. One of the most effective ways to shift the focus away from overthinking is by acknowledging and appreciating the people around us. The book suggests expressing your gratitude to others, whether through a thank you note, a kind word, or a simple gesture of appreciation. When you express gratitude, not only do you lift someone else's spirits, but you also reinforce the positive aspects of your own life. Gratitude creates a ripple effect, building stronger, more supportive relationships and helping you stay connected to the present moment. The book also addresses the impact of gratitude on stress and anxiety. Overthinkers often experience heightened stress due to the constant barrage of thoughts and worries. Gratitude has been shown to reduce stress by shifting the focus from what could go wrong to what is going well. When we focus on the positive, our brains release dopamine and serotonin, neurotransmitters associated with happiness and relaxation. The book encourages readers to practice gratitude throughout the day, especially in stressful situations. By taking a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for, you create an instant shift in your mental state, reducing the impact of stress and anxiety, and making it easier to stay calm and present. The book also highlights the role of gratitude in building resilience. Life is full of ups and downs, and overthinkers often struggle to bounce back from setbacks. However, gratitude helps us build emotional resilience by reinforcing the positive aspects of life, even in difficult times. When we practice gratitude during challenges, we remind ourselves that there is always something to appreciate, even amidst hardship. Gratitude helps us focus on our strengths and the support we have, making it easier to face challenges with a sense of hope and perseverance. Over time, this mindset of gratitude strengthens our ability to adapt and recover from adversity, reducing the mental toll of overthinking. The book encourages you to practice gratitude as a habit. Gratitude is not just something to practice on special occasions or when things are going well. It's a mindset that can be woven into every aspect of your life. By making gratitude a regular habit, you shift your focus from scarcity to abundance, from worry to peace. The more you practice gratitude, the more it becomes ingrained in your daily life, helping you break free from overthinking and cultivate a more positive, peaceful mindset. This expanded version of Chapter 19 explores how practicing gratitude can break the cycle of overthinking by shifting focus from worry and negativity to appreciation and positivity. It offers actionable strategies, including keeping a gratitude journal, practicing gratitude meditation, and expressing gratitude to others to help foster a mindset of thankfulness. Gratitude not only reduces stress and anxiety, but also enhances mental clarity, emotional resilience, and overall well-being. Let me know if you'd like to refine or expand any part further. Chapter 20. Creating Mental Space. How decluttering your mind can stop overthinking. Overthinking is often a result of mental clutter, a tangled mess of thoughts, worries, and distractions that crowd out clarity and peace. When your mind is cluttered, it becomes difficult to focus, make decisions, or engage with the present moment. The book emphasizes that in order to stop overthinking, we must first create mental space. By decluttering our minds, we reduce the noise and allow ourselves to think more clearly, make better decisions, and regain control over our thoughts. Creating mental space is one of the most powerful tools for breaking the cycle of overthinking and achieving mental clarity. The book begins by explaining that mental clutter is often the result of constant multitasking, information overload, and an inability to let go of worries. Overthinkers often juggle multiple thoughts at once, replaying past events or obsessing over future possibilities. This constant mental activity creates a sense of overwhelm, making it hard to focus or make meaningful progress. The book stresses that creating mental space involves learning how to let go of unnecessary thoughts and distractions so that you can focus on what truly matters. One of the first steps in decluttering your mind is organizing your thoughts. Overthinkers often feel overwhelmed because they have too many thoughts swirling around, with no clear order or direction. The book suggests using a technique called mind mapping or brain dumping to organize your thoughts. This involves writing down everything that's on your mind, whether it's worries, tasks, ideas, or random thoughts, onto a piece of paper. Once your thoughts are on paper, you can begin to categorize, prioritize, and process them. This exercise allows you to visually organize your thoughts and see them more clearly, reducing the sense of overwhelm and creating mental space. Another key strategy the book offers is setting aside time for reflection. Overthinkers often don't give themselves time to process their thoughts and emotions. Instead, they rush through the day, accumulating more mental clutter without taking the time to reflect and release it. The book encourages you to schedule regular time for reflection, whether it's through journaling, meditation, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. During this time, you can allow yourself to process your emotions, release unnecessary worries, and gain clarity. By making reflection a regular habit, you create the mental space needed to stay grounded and present. The book also introduces the practice of mindful decision-making. Overthinkers often get stuck in the cycle of indecision, endlessly weighing pros and cons and imagining every possible outcome. This constant mental back and forth creates mental clutter and prevents us from moving forward. The book suggests adopting a more mindful approach to decision-making by focusing on the present moment and trusting your instincts. Instead of overanalyzing every detail, trust yourself to make the best decision with the information available. If you make a mistake, treat it as a learning opportunity rather than a failure. By reducing the pressure around decision-making, you create space for more decisive action and reduce the mental clutter that fuels overthinking. Digital detox is another powerful tool for creating mental space. Overthinkers are often overwhelmed by the constant barrage of information, notifications, and distractions from digital devices. Social media, email, and news apps can keep your mind constantly occupied, leaving little room for focus or rest. The book recommends setting aside regular times throughout the day to disconnect from screens, whether it's by turning off notifications, setting phone-free times, or dedicating certain hours for deep work without digital distractions. By reducing the mental noise of constant connectivity, you free up mental space for more focused, productive thinking. The book also discusses the role of simplifying your environment in creating mental space. Our external environment has a direct impact on our mental state. When our physical surroundings are cluttered, it can lead to feelings of stress and overwhelm, which exacerbate overthinking. The book encourages you to declutter your physical space by organizing your home or workspace, removing unnecessary items, and creating an environment that promotes calm and focus. A clean, organized environment can help clear your mind, reduce distractions, and make it easier to think clearly and act decisively. Another important strategy for decluttering your mind is learning to say no. Overthinkers often take on too many commitments out of a desire to please others or avoid disappointing anyone. However, overloading yourself with tasks and responsibilities creates mental clutter, leaving little room for relaxation or self-care. The book emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries and saying no to commitments that don't align with your values or priorities. Saying no allows you to focus your time and energy on what truly matters, freeing up mental space for the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. The book also suggests practicing self-compassion as part of the process of decluttering your mind. Overthinkers often struggle with self-criticism, constantly beating themselves up for mistakes or worrying about their shortcomings. This mental clutter can keep you trapped in cycles of self-doubt and anxiety. The book encourages you to practice self-compassion by treating yourself with kindness and understanding, even in the face of failure or uncertainty. When you stop judging yourself harshly, you create mental space for growth, acceptance, and peace. Self-compassion helps clear away the negative thought patterns that fuel overthinking and replace them with a sense of inner calm. A key component of mental decluttering is prioritizing your mental health. Overthinkers often neglect their emotional well-being, focusing instead on external demands, tasks, and responsibilities. The book stresses the importance of taking care of your mental health by incorporating self-care practices into your routine. This might include activities like exercising, engaging in hobbies, practicing mindfulness, or seeking professional support. When you prioritize your mental health, you reduce stress and anxiety, which makes it easier to let go of the mental clutter that leads to overthinking. The book emphasizes the importance of living with intention. Overthinkers often feel scattered because they are reacting to life's demands without a clear sense of purpose or direction. The book encourages you to live with intention by setting clear goals, creating a vision for your life, and aligning your daily actions with your values. When you live with intention, you focus on what matters most, creating mental space by eliminating distractions and unnecessary mental noise. This expanded version of Chapter 20 highlights how creating mental space through practices like organizing your thoughts, reflecting regularly, simplifying your environment, and prioritizing your mental health can help break the cycle of overthinking. By decluttering your mind, you reduce stress, improve focus, and regain control over your thoughts. The book provides practical strategies for freeing up mental space, allowing you to think clearly and live with intention. Let me know if you'd like to refine or expand any part further. Throughout this book, we've explored the powerful tools and strategies to break free from the cycle of overthinking and reclaim control over our minds. Overthinking, with its endless loops of worry, fear, and doubt, is a habit that many of us struggle with. Yet, as we've seen, it is not an irreversible state. It is something we can address, shift, and manage. By embracing the methods discussed in this book, we can transform the way we relate to our thoughts, making room for mental clarity, emotional peace, and purposeful action. From recognizing the impact of overthinking on our mental health to practicing mindfulness, self-compassion, and gratitude, each chapter has offered valuable insights into how we can release the grip of constant mental chatter. By understanding the root causes of overthinking, whether it be perfectionism, fear, or stress, we have learned to shift our focus toward the present, embrace imperfection, and take actionable steps toward breaking the cycle of worry and doubt. One of the central themes throughout the book has been the importance of creating mental space, decluttering our minds, letting go of unnecessary distractions, and building healthy routines all serve as foundations for gaining mental clarity. Practices like mindfulness, self-compassion, and gratitude are not quick fixes. They are daily habits that, when integrated into our lives, help us build resilience, strengthen our sense of self, and quiet the noise that often leads to overthinking. We've learned that letting go of perfectionism is one of the most liberating practices in overcoming overthinking. When we stop demanding perfection from ourselves and others, we create room for progress, growth, and exploration. Acknowledging our imperfections allows us to approach challenges with courage, compassion, and a focus on learning rather than fearing failure. The power of now, the practice of embracing the present moment, is also a cornerstone of overcoming overthinking. The more we focus on the present, the less power our fears of the future and regrets from the past have over us. Mindfulness helps us stay grounded, and by focusing on the present, we create the mental space needed to make thoughtful decisions and engage with life fully. Breaking free from overthinking is not an instant transformation. It is a journey. It requires patience, consistent practice, and a willingness to be kind to ourselves along the way. We are not meant to be perfect thinkers or flawless decision-makers. Instead, we are meant to engage with our thoughts and emotions in ways that promote mental clarity, peace, and growth. The practices shared in this book are tools to help you move from a place of anxiety and indecision to a place of empowerment, self-acceptance, and presence. By embracing the techniques and strategies outlined here, you're taking the first step toward a life of less mental clutter, more meaningful action, and a greater sense of peace. Let go of the pressure to overthink every decision and trust that you are capable of navigating life with clarity and confidence. Remember, the journey of self-discovery and mental peace is ongoing, but with each practice you embrace, you're one step closer to breaking free from overthinking and living fully in the moment. Take a deep breath, appreciate the progress you've made, and trust that the future holds endless possibilities when you embrace the power of now and the freedom that comes with a clear, uncluttered mind.